Quidditch Through the Ages, written by Samuel Wright, based on Quidditch Through the Ages by J.K. Rowling. Fade in, interior Italian home evening. Super, Italy, 1938. A large extended family listens intently to a sports game broadcast playing on the large radio. The adults lean forward as the broadcaster's voice gets increasingly intense. They hold their breath, and two children run past the radio, bumping into it. The broadcast cuts to static, and the room erupts in groans. The father tries to adjust the radio knobs, to no success. All dialogue, in brackets, is in Italian.
Oh, Silvio, fix the radio.
Silvio, 10, approaches. He barely touches the knobs, and they spin of their own accord. Suddenly, a voice becomes clear, speaking English, but with a familiar excitement and energy.
Wait, hold it there.
Hat to hat! Colbert is down and Italy takes possession. Russo passes the quaffle to Salucci. She passes to Vestri. Look at that broom work. He nears the keeper. He's hit by a bludger. Parkin takes the quaffle. Passes to Ihorn. Back to Parkin. She tosses. Goal! 10 points to Scotland. Now that's Quidditch.
The broadcast goes on. The family gape, blank-faced, until...
Quidditch? What is Quidditch?
That's what the Americans call football.
Oh no, my love, that's a soccer. Quidditch is the English game that with the sticks.
The adults continue to argue. Silvio turns up the volume on the radio and scooches closer in rapt attention.
Yes, and what a night for Quidditch it is.
Can You Dance Like a Hippogriff, a wizard rock anthem by the Weird Sisters, accompanies us into the exterior Quidditch qualifier stadium, night. The size of a school football arena, but with wooden bleachers on tall stilts. At either end of the ovular grass pitch are 3 goals, upright hoops on tall poles. The bleachers are packed with people wearing robes and hats the colors of the Scottish or Italian flag. They wave banners and cheer. Some have painted themselves. A food vendor hands a child a cup of gummy lizards that crawl and try to escape as he eats them. Next to him, another child blows into a noisemaker, making a sound like a lion roaring. Fans start 2 waves in opposite directions. They pull out wands, casting sparks that build into waves of magical energy. One blue-white, the other red, white, and green. The waves travel around the stadium and crash into each other. The players appear, flying through the air on brooms. The Scottish national team and the Italian national team, dressed in uniforms bearing their respective countries' colors. Interior Quidditch qualifier stadium announcer booth, same. Homer Honeycutt, 45, fast-talking and lyrical, and Jacunda Sykes, 45, a witch take on Amelia Earhart, sit at ribbon microphones, narrating the action as it unfolds.
For those of us joining us, the quaffle is hot and the bludgers are bruising. We're an hour into the penultimate qualifying match of the 408th Quidditch World Cup. Scotland versus Italy. Italy has the lead at 60-20 and Scotland is down a chaser.
Angle on the pitch. A floating stretcher carries a Scottish player, Colbert, away from the small crater. His face is covered in a towel, but he manages a weak wave at the crowd.
But they are rallying! I'm Homer Honeycutt, joined by the transatlantic enchantress herself, Jacunda Sykes.
Delighted to be here, Homer.
So far, not a peep of that gilded bauble, the golden snitch. Not on the earth, nor in the sky, but Merlin's eye, what a game!
Pitch, same. Saoirse Parkin, 29, chaser, intensity personified, flies with a red ball, the quaffle, under her arm.
Saoirse Parkin has the quaffle, but with only 2 chasers, does Scotland stand a chance?
Saoirse rolls upside down on her broom, avoiding an Italian chaser as he flies right over her. She rights herself.
Parkin is one of the Britain's highest-rated chasers and 2-time recipient of the Artemis Tell Excellence in Aim Medal.
Hold on, Iz.
Saoirse enters the scoring zone. She flies vertically, corkscrewing in front of the keeper, and throws the quaffle. It clears the hoop as the keeper swerves the wrong way.
Score! 10 points to Scotland!
The audience cheers. A scoreboard shows 60-30. The Italian keeper tosses the quaffle to a chaser.
Italy's in possession. Russo nears the post. He throws!
Kennilworthy Whisp, 18, keeper, wiry and energetic, catches the quaffle before it can fly through a hoop.
Brilliant catch by keeper Kennilworthy Whisp.
Listeners may be familiar with Wisp's column in Seeker Weekly, Stitch on the Snitch.
Just a little longer, Captain.
Wisp tosses the ball to Sorsha.
Parking passes to Chaser Dublin Whitehorn.
Dublin Whitehorn, 30, Chaser, a Howard Hughes type, sans the confidence, carries the quaffle. As he flies, his broom shudders. He looks back at the brush. Bristles are coming loose and falling. As they do, his broom slows in increments. Dublin reaches into a pocket and withdraws a wrench. Holding the quaffle in one arm and gripping the broomstick with his knees, he leans backward until parallel with the stick. As he does so, he swerves to avoid an opponent.
Not yet, is he?
A flying black ball, a bludger, alters its course to follow Dublin. His head against the brush, Dublin reaches his arm behind his back. His wrench finds a bolt holding the bristles in place. He tightens it, and the bristles stop flying out. The bludger closes in on Dublin, aimed at his head. Only for Aidan McNabb, 29, beater, almost too big for his broom, to block it, backhanding it with a short club. The bludger flies directly at Jeannie McNabb, 29, beater, an MMA fighter in another life. She clubs it again, and it collides with an Italian chaser, knocking him off his broom just as he attempts to steal the quaffle.
Merlin's toe, what a blow! Great offense by beaters Aidan McNabb and Jeannie Che.
And Jeannie McNabb! Congrats to the newlyweds!
Aidan and Jeannie fly side by side and share a kiss.
Oh, get off you. Can't have Iz thinking we're distracted.
Ah, come on, it's our honeymoon. Besides, Izzy ken the plan.
Dublin rises and tosses the quaffle through a hoop. Announcer booth, same.
Another 10 points, bringing us to 60-40. Jocunda, my mother may have been a seer with her lazy third eye, but even she wouldn't dare predict this match's outcome and place a second jinx on this team's head.
And for good reason. Homer, international listeners may not know the events of August 8th, 1801, when Britain hosted the World Cup. And that fateful day, a squib named Wilgefortz McCoy was ejected from the stadium with her pet Sphinx cub. McCoy said that if she couldn't attend the finals, no British team ever would again.
137 years later, McCoy's pernicious promulgation, the Sphinx Jinx, has held true. No team from England, Wales, or Scotland has made it to the final 6.
Exterior, pitch, same. Above, removed from the action, hovers a figure on a broom.
But has the sun finally set on our season of exile? Can Captain and Seeker Izzy Darrow lead Scotland to lift the Sphinx Jinx and reach the World Cup finals?
The figure, Izzy Darrow, 29, Seeker, casually alert, scans the field. To her left, a golden bauble hovers out of focus. Without looking, Izzy snatches the bauble. She brings her hand to her shoulder and opens it. Out hops Littlewit, a round, walnut-sized bird with golden feathers and long wings, a golden snidget. He chirps at her.
Little Wit, here we numpy. We're lucky the ref didn't see you. Wallace said you'd watch me.
Angle on the bleachers where Wallace McNaught, 29, team kit manager, undergrown, watches Izzy through binoculars.
The pitch is no place for a golden snidget. It's dangerous.
She leans right. A bludger shoots past, narrowly missing her.
Oh, sorry, Iz.
Besides, I ken the plan.
Littlewit chirps. She looks again and notices a small note in his beak. She takes it and reads it. Below, the crowd cheers at a play. Izzy smiles, pockets the note, and tucks Littlewit into her uniform.
I love it when the winds change.
Cut to Sorsha tosses the quaffle through a goal hoop.
Score! That makes 60-50!
Izzy appears by Sorsha.
Hey, Sorsha, 60-50, pretty good.
Not good enough, Iz. Remember the plan.
Angle on the Italian seeker. Izzy smiles.
No plan survives first contact with the golden snitch, Sorsh.
Izzy makes a sharp turn up, climbing rapidly.
It was your plan.
Whitehorn advances, dodging.
Darrow is climbing. Darrow has seen the snitch.
The Italian seeker launches up after Izzy. In the stands, Wallace follows Izzy through binoculars.
Oh no.
Jeannie and Aidan join Sorsha and Devlin.
Wait, she isn't.
High above the pitch, the Italian seeker has nearly gained on Izzy. Izzy raises a hand.
Darrow reaches, she...
And fully releases her broom. It and the Italian seeker continue to climb as she plummets to the ground. The spectators rise and point, some screaming in alarm.
She is.
Darrow has fallen off of her broom.
The Italian seeker looks over his shoulder at Izzy. As she falls, Izzy smiles back at him and makes a mock salute. Izzy turns to face the ground and spreads her arms and legs. She scans the ground before locking her sight. There, hovering directly below her, near the spot the Italian seeker sat only moments ago, hovers a small golden ball with silver wings, the golden snitch. Izzy reaches and grabs the snitch.
Was that the
Snitch?
Sorsha and Devlin swoop under Izzy, catching her and redirecting her momentum safely into a curve, their toes brushing the grass on the pitch. The crowd erupts into cheers as Izzy, supported by Sorsha and Devlin, displays the golden snitch.
Izzy Darrow has caught the snitch, earning 150 points.
Scotland wins 200 to 60.
We are not calling that the Darrow dive.
You're already using it, Sorsh.
The team join together for a victory lap. A distinct whistle is heard. Izzy looks to the source. In the stands, Wallace has his fingers to his lips. They lock eyes and cheer, pointing at each other. Interior, British Ministry of Magic, entry hall, night. Angle on a mobile wireless, broadcasting the match.
With that victory, Scotland gains 2 qualifier points, plus 3 for winning with a lead of over 100 points. We'll see if that's enough to secure their entry into the 408th Quidditch World Cup.
We see that the wireless is sitting on a custodial cart being pushed by a custodian through a crowd of departing office workers, past tall fireplaces. The workers walk into the fireplaces and disappear in bursts of green fire. The custodian passes into Interior, British Ministry of Magic, Atrium, Continuous. A circular, multi-story chamber made of black, gilded stone, lined with office windows. A golden fountain sits in the center. A peregrine falcon is perched on top of it. Interior, office, same. The room is utilitarian with a large window overlooking the atrium. Leonard Spencer-Moon, 60, dry, writes at a desk.
This meeting could have been an hour, ministers. It hardly merits breaking out the marble.
Angle on 4 marble busts of witches and wizards set before the desk. They bear labels, Germany, Spain, Italy, and France, and they are talking.
So sorry you feel put out, Leonard. Are you decided or not?
Interior, atrium, same. A ministry official exits an elevator and jogs forward. He wears a medal bearing the ministry insignia. He slips and falls. We see that an enchanted mop is mopping the floor. The custodian rushes to help him up.
Put up a warning sign next time.
The official jogs away. The custodian sets up a wet floor sign, then turns away, holding the official's medal. The custodian walks to his cart. He removes a sheet of paper on which he discreetly places the medal. He taps the paper with a wand. It folds into a paper plane and flies off. Interior, level 10, same. The hallway is circular, with a glass wall looking out on the atrium. The other wall is lined with doors and paintings. The falcon pushes a window open, allowing the plane to fly through. It is caught by a window washer. He extracts the medal from the plane and walks down the hallway.
I'm afraid I remain resolved.
Interior, office, same. General sounds of frustration from the busts.
What does Farley have to say?
The minister is away on holiday, but as head of the Department of International Magic Cooperation, the decision is mine.
What would you have us do, Leonard? Cancel the World Cup?
Au contraire, Minister Rosier.
Alcina Salamand, 45, offensively fashionable and not to be ignored, strides in behind the busts.
Even Leonard Spencer-Moon knows that you cannot cancel Quidditch.
Who's that? Who's there with you?
Alcina Salamand, chairwoman of the International Confederation of Wizards Quidditch Committee, charmed. I am sure.
She extends her hand daintily. Spencer-Moon ignores it.
I'm sure. I believe my secretary declined your meeting request.
You cannot cancel Alcina Salamand. Besides, it sounds like the ministers could use my help changing your mind.
Indeed. I'm told Quintero's gone missing, just like Golowski and Williamine.
Oh, a tragic coincidence. Wizards go missing every day.
Not when they're the heirs of the Secret Seven. Not the year before. The Sesquicentennial. 1 disappearing in coincidence, 2 in conspiracy, 3 in momentum.
Interior, supply closet, same. An artist, his janitor uniform splattered with paint, stands in front of a canvas on an easel. A mirror sits beside it. He gives the canvas a finishing touch with a paintbrush. Angle on painting. An abstract self-portrait. The self-portrait becomes animated and steps out of frame. Interior, office, same.
The World Cup is our best show of magical exceptionalism and international solidarity.
Oh, well said.
I would think a better show of international solidarity would be decisively in the threat posed by Gellert Grindelwald.
Interior, level 10, same. The window washer comes to a door. A painting hangs by it. A bored witch with a thick cord hanging by her head.
Password.
The window washer doesn't answer. In the painting, the self-portrait steps in behind the witch. He grabs her, covers her mouth with a rag, and pulls her out of frame. The portrait artist re-enters the frame and yanks the cord. The door lock clicks, the window washer enters. Interior, records room, continuous. The window washer closes the door and begins walking past rows of tall, golden filing cabinets. At the far end of the room, a yellowed document rests in a heavy frame on the wall behind thick glass. Interior, office, same.
For over a decade, Europe has turned a blind eye to the gondolier.
Gondolier?
Grindelwald's latest self-appointed title.
It means wand bearer.
But Grindelwald hasn't been seen in years.
Yet his influence persists, festering in the shadows. Violence against Muggles continues to rise in Europe. Just this morning, your paper published an opinion piece in favor of the Muggle subjugation, next to the days of Quidditch scores.
He places a French newspaper on the desk.
A poetic juxtaposition.
Interior, supply closet, same. The artist is cleaning up his painting supplies. He stops, blinks, and shakes his head. He opens his eyes, which flash dimly and return to normal. The door opens. He turns to it, looking concussed. Interior, level 10, same. In the painting, a group of witches and wizards are standing around the fallen witch, fanning her.
Someone get security!
Interior, atrium, same. The custodian looks up at the level 10 hallway where Auror's magic law enforcers run toward the records room.
Europe stands on a knife's edge. While you play your games, magical supremists rally, demanding to rise against Muggles and end the peace of forebears worked so hard for.
His eyes flash dimly and return to normal. Interior, records room, same. The window washer inspects the frame. He holds the ministry medal to it. The glass melts away, exposing the document.
War is on your doorstep,
The window washer removes the document.
and the enemy is making ready.
He waves his wand and an exact replica of the document appears in the frame. Interior, office, same.
War is for Muggles. We will not engage with them at the goading of Grindelwald and his mob.
Then Grindelwald has already won.
Interior, level 10, same. The Aurors gather at the door. The lead Auror is pounding on it. The Falcon watches through the window behind them.
For it seems he has convinced you that Muggles are the enemy.
Open this door in 3, 2.
The door clicks, then swings outward. Thousands of paper planes burst out of the room, pushing the Aurors back and filling the hallway. Interior, office, same.
Our enemies are already among us.
Interior, atrium, same. The paper planes shatter the windows and fill the air. The crowd screams and ducks for cover, first from the glass, then again as the paper planes descend, attacking them. Interior, office, same. Spencer-Moon leaps to the window as the busts strain to look.
What's going on? Turn us around!
The door to the office hangs open. Interior, records room, same. The filing cabinets are all open. Loose papers and limp planes litter the ground. The Aurors rush in and circle the unconscious window washer, wands drawn. One kicks him in the side. He groans and opens his eyes, which flash dimly and return to normal.
Oh, sorry. Did I nod off?
Interior, atrium, moments later. Paper planes still swarm about the room. Some wizards use their wands to cast fire at or freeze the planes. A yellowed plane drifts lazily and nosedives into a bin. Salamand strolls casually through the turmoil. The planes seem to avoid her entirely. Without breaking stride, she reaches into the bin and pulls out a stylish handbag. She shoulders the bag and strolls toward the fireplaces. The Falcon soars down and perches on her shoulder. She passes the custodian, window washer, and artist, who are bound and being escorted by Aurors. They look around in confusion. She covertly swirls her wand. The three men faint. She enters a fireplace and smiles as green fire engulfs her. Interior tavern night. A rowdy crowd. Everyone is having a good time, except for the team. Sans Izzy, sitting at a corner table. A golden snitch sits in the center of the table as Littlewit inspects it, pecking at it suspiciously. Their brooms lean against the wall behind them. Sorsha seethes. Wallace is sewing a tear in a uniform, sneaking glances at the others and their untouched drinks. Izzy approaches, singing and carrying a tray of drinks.
Another round. On me.
No response. Izzy sets down the tray.
All right. What is it?
How's your head, Hen?
My head. I'm fine. That bludger didn't even touch me. Not like Colbert. Could be a while before he's broom-worthy.
So, no head trauma at all?
No. I'm fine.
Then why in Maryland's name were you playing like a confundicated mental case?
What I think Sorcha means, Captain, is we thought an injury might explain why you went.
Amaracking like a glory-hogging never was or without a flying care for your team.
Heavy silence.
You all feel this way. Wallace?
This is really a conversation for the team. I'm just kit manager.
He stands and hands the repaired uniform to Jeannie.
All patched up, Jeannie. Aiden will have yours ready tomorrow. The optics aren't great, Iz.
Wallace leaves the table.
Optics. And how will our optics be when we win the World Cup?
We're not in the World Cup yet, Iz. Confundicated, this is group phase. If you had waited for just one more goal, we would have gotten 5 extra qualifier points, Iz. 5. Like we planned. Like you planned. Now either Bulgaria or Chile could knock us out of the qualifying.
Okay, first of all, if I hadn't acted right then, Italy's seeker would have noticed the snitch hovering right next to his earlobe, and we'd be out for sure. That's bad, right?
She begins to circle the table.
Second, the Darrow dive, Sorsha's name, not mine, was the best way to introduce ourselves. When the world gathers in France, there'll be agog about the team of Scots who saved their seeker from the jaws of death to claim victory. Scotland! Aren't they under that Sphinx jinx?
The team shush her. Wisp throws salt over his shoulder.
Sorry, the Sphinx jinx. Well, these Scots are something. They say Dublin Whitehorn built his own broom, he did.
I mean, not Bill. Modified, yes.
Aidan and Jeannie McNabb are strong as trolls.
The McNabbs, arms folded, casually flex, eyeing each other up.
Their keeper's the youngest player in Cup's history.
Actually, Zapata Zahavi was 15 in the 301st, though some would argue that since Kalakora Potty was briefly 5 years old in the unification fiasco of 49.
But their vice-captain is Quidditch royalty. Born on a broom, trained in the secret techniques of clan parking. She never, ever misses her mark.
Sorsha remains unmelted.
If any team can break the Sphinx jinx and win the cup, it's this team, this year, this moment.
She pauses for an applause that does not come.
Third, Coach sent me a note before the dive.
She pulls out Littlewit's note and hands it to Sorsha, who unrolls it. Chile beat Bulgaria by 10 points.
And we beat Italy by 100. That's more than 10, right?
We're in the cup.
We're in the World Cup.
The team erupts in frenzied celebration. Aidan raises a mug.
To Colbert, our fallen comrade. If only he'd caught as many quaffles with his hands as he did bludgers with his face.
Or pass the quaffle as often as he may passes at me.
To Colbert, we'll send you an owl from Paris.
Colbert!
They toast. Behind them, a plate breaks. Izzy turns. Cut to, at the bar, Wallace crouches to pick up the pieces of a shattered plate and scattered food. 2 thugs tower over him.
You clumsy and deaf.
Sorry,
That all
Sorry.
you can say. Sorry.
Sorry, no,
The thugs laugh. Aidan and Jeannie appear, casually muscular.
Everything okay here, Wallace?
Sure. Just asking about a loan.
What's he look like, a bank?
Now you mention it. It does smell a bit like goblin.
Izzy, Sorsha, and Devlin approach from behind the thugs.
Better than look like one.
More thugs approach, surrounding the team.
Yeah, to say that again.
I said, you're ugly.
Around the room, hands grip wands.
But so's me dad. And he's not so bad a bloke, I won't share a drink with him. Have a round. On me.
Izzy takes Wallace by the arm and turns to go.
You know what? I just place that smell. It's not goblin at all. Smells more like a squib.
The immediate crowd hushes. Izzy stops. Wallace's face reddens. The thug waves a hand under his nose and laughs.
He reeks! It's all that dead magic rolling in his blood. Don't get too close. No magic coming.
Izzy turns and approaches the thug. She pulls out her wand. The crowd lurches, but Izzy makes a show of placing the wand on the bar, making eye contact with each of her teammates. Then she punches the thug. Patrons pull out their wands and charge forth. Spells start flying through the air. A spell hits the radio. I'd Rather Court a Troll by Tav Gleeman, a jaunty song, plays. Izzy dodges a spell. Little Wit flies in front of her assailant and pecks him in the eye. The assailant howls.
Sorsha! Reverse pass!
Sorsha grabs a bottle and lobs it over her shoulder at a thug's face. He falls. Devlin snatches it on the rebound and throws it back to Sorsha. She catches and hurls it through a falling circular chandelier and into another thug's face. In the corner, Wisp is talking to an uninterested waitress.
By the time they fixed the time turners, the game had repeated 291 times. And the committee ruled that each iteration was valid. That's why this is the 408th World Cup, not the 118th.
Silver arrows fly past Wisp and vanish. He clocks the fight.
Oh, pardon me.
He tackles a wizard, pointing a wand at Jeannie, who has two wizards in a headlock. She bangs their heads together. Aiden jumps behind the bar. 6 mugs stand in a row. Using a flying broom as a club, he smashes each mug into the face of a thug, knocking them out. Aiden raises the broom again. A spell hits the broom, blasting it in half. Aiden turns to see Devlin watching, who looks like he might throw up.
You can fix that, right?
The doors burst open. Aurors rush in, blowing whistles and casting spells. Exterior, tavern, moments later. The thugs, bloodied and bruised, sit on the curb outside, hands tied behind their backs, glaring daggers at the equally beaten but noticeably chipper team, who are receiving their wands and brooms from 2 Aurors.
These wands didn't cast any spells in the fight.
You're free to go. As for you, there's a heavy fine for hexing under the influence.
The team depart. They round a corner and burst into laughter.
No, that's a bonny bruise, love.
I'm not as bunny as you. Nothing like a good post-game brawl.
Reminded me of 1513 when a poltergeist snuck onto the pitch.
Maybe the acceleration charm made the wood brittle. An endurance charm make the...
We really could have used a third chaser back there is. I did not think Colbert's coming back after that fall.
Colbert was rubbish. They'll send us a sub before the first match.
Izzy notices Wallace hanging back, Little Wit hovering by him. She slows as the team moves on.
Hey, who's my favourite kit manager?
I'm managing.
I remember that summer we found Little Wit.
Of course I do.
Well, I just found something else.
She displays a golden amulet, a triangle holding a circle and a vertical line, the sign of the Deathly Hallows.
What is it?
Dunno. Pulled it off that big guy. Bit pretty for a brick like. Bit pretty for a brick like that.
She slips it over her neck and poses.
No? No?
Bit pretty for a brick like you.
Oh, shut your gob. I like it. I tell ya, this is our year. We'll nix the jinx. Win the cup.
Change the world.
Let someone else worry about changing the world. We're getting a do. Just like we said. The squib and the mudblood.
The mudblood and the squid.
The squid blood and muddy... I may have a concussion.
They continue walking, Izzy leaning on Wallace for support. The team stands interior, hotel room, day. The team stands shoulder to shoulder in a line, hung over. Coach, 60, an extremely animated Highland ghost, floats back and forth in front of them, gray and semi-transparent.
465 years I've been coaching this team, and I've never seen such a display. Representing all of Scotland, and what do? Get in a bar fight? And it's about time. Can't remember the last time I saw a team with the balls to take on an entire bar without wands. Wisp, is that a new scar?
Yes, coach. Curse grazed my ear.
Good for you, lad. I'd die of pride if that bad one hadn't done me in first.
Someone clears his throat. Coach becomes somber.
Right. Anyway, good match. Playford has something to say.
He floats aside. Peniston Playford, 50, an egg-shaped pencil pusher, steps forward.
Speaking as myself, well done last night. Speaking as head of Department of Magical Games and Sports, well, I do hate delivering bad news. Miss McNaught, if you would.
He hands Wallace a letter. Wallace reads a moment.
Boycott?
What?
In protest of lax security in the face of the ongoing threat of Gellert Grindelwald in Europe, the British Ministry of Magic has announced its boycott of the 408th Quidditch World Cup. Your team is hereby ordered...
Izzy snatches the letter.
Your team is to return to Britain immediately. By order of Leonard Spencer-Moon?
Merlin's beard.
You can't cancel Quidditch.
I'm afraid he's already booked our passage home and had your entire kit loaded onto the ship.
Who do you think he is? Getting his politics mixed up with our game.
Oh, he's head of the Department of International Magic Cooperation, with the backing of the Minister for Magic. No one wants to see the stinks jinxing more than I do, but one must do as they're told, eh? Cheer up now. There's more to life than Quidditch, right?
Silence. Izzy stares at him, wide-eyed, unblinking.
There's always next time.
Suddenly, Izzy is all smiles.
That is such a refreshing perspective. The next cup is in 4 years, right? Why mope when we could be at home getting ready? Right, Sorsa?
Right.
To that point, why are you still here instead of grabbing a drink? We'll see you at the dock.
Oh, well, I suppose I will. Good on you, Miss Darrow.
Playford exits.
Izzy, sweetie, you okay, hun?
We're going to France.
On layover?
No one, not Gellert Grindelwald, not Wilgefortis McCoy, not the Ministry of Bleeding Magic cancels Quidditch.
You can't just ignore a ministry decree, Iz. They throw people in Azkaban for that.
Right? They throw people, not World Cup champions.
Beat. Everyone looks at Wisp.
Oh, yeah. Technically, no World Cup champion has ever been sentenced to Azkaban.
All eyes shift back to Sorsha.
We'll need to steal our kit back.
Can't steal what's already ours.
And ditch Playford.
Good. He smells.
And actually win the World Cup.
Like we weren't going to do that anyway.
Fine. Kerfunder Kate, let's go to France.
The team cheer in solidarity.
Yes! So, you mean to defy the Ministry of Magic? The most powerful governing body in all of Britain?
They look up. Coach is floating above them, arms folded. His scowl breaks into a grin.
What's more Scottish than that?
Exterior, docks, day. A fisherman sits smoking a pipe and mending a net when the Mermaid's Secret floats by. The Mermaid's Secret is a short but tall steamboat, complete with a smokestack and paddle wheels. It is multicolored with 3 stories of cabins and an ugly mermaid figurehead. From the deck, the sea captain with a curly mustache waves. The fisherman examines the contents of his pipe. Exterior, the Mermaid's Secret, deck, same. The sea captain walks along the deck to where the team are standing with Coach and Playford.
Best to head in soon. Once the shore disappears, so do we.
A deckhand passes them, a chained bundle of broomsticks floating behind him. Izzy and Wallace watch as he leads them through a door and disappears.
I was saving this for France, but we could all use a pick-me-up.
She reveals a bottle of sparkling wine as Sorsha passes flutes to the group. Izzy begins to pour.
Join us, Mr. Playford.
Oh, well, certainly.
Izzy passes her glass, raises her glass.
We may have been called back, but one day we'll bring the cup home. To Scotland, land of the brave, the clever, the loyal, and the cunning. To Scotland!
To Scotland!
The team pretend to drink as Playford drains his glass. He falls backward, unconscious. The team mobilize.
McNabbs, get him to his cabin. Wisp, Dublin, get the lifeboat ready. Iz?
Izzy and Wallace are gone. The door to below deck is open.
Kerfunder Kate.
Interior, wheelhouse, same. A helmswoman stands at the helm, steering the ship. The wooden console holds levers and cranks of strange design. The sea captain enters.
That's far enough. Commence aquatic disapparition.
The helmswoman pulls a hanging valve. The ship groans. Interior, cargo, moments later. Light comes through portholes, showing open sea. The brooms are chained to the wall by the luggage. Izzy and Wallace enter and run to the brooms. The chains are held by a lock with 7 holes. She taps it with her wand.
Alahomora.
Nothing happens. Sorsha, Wisp, and Deblin enter.
Bother. It's counter-charmed.
Oh, move over.
Wallace kneels in front of the lock, inspecting it.
I remember that summer when my dad locked me in my room and told me I wasn't leaving till I could spell myself out. Well, if there's one thing I learned then...
He stands, pulls a bobby pin out of Izzy's hair, bends it, and kneels back at the lock.
It's that not every problem requires a wand.
He begins picking the lock. Wisp looks up at a porthole.
Beds?
Angle on the portholes. Water is rising above the view. Exterior, the mermaid's secret, same. Far from shore, the ship is steadily and purposely sinking. Interior, cargo, same. Wallace picks at the lock. 3 of its segments have snapped. The rest of the team are carrying luggage up the stairs while Izzy all but breathes down Wallace's neck.
Wallace?
There's an art to this.
A 4th segment pops. Wallace begins work on the 5th. Sorsha stands at the door as Jeannie carries out the last of the luggage. Izzy looks back.
We'll meet you at the boat.
Are you mental?
Oi, you shouldn't be out here.
Sounds of magic and a body hitting the deck. Sorsha groans.
Can't fabricate it.
Interior cabin moments later. Coach is floating by Playford, who is snoring in a bunk. Sorsha and Deblin enter, carrying the deckhand.
Interesting play, Borgin.
Failed interception, but
this door should be closed. Merlin's beard.
Sorsha sighs and aims her wand. Interior, cargo, same. The porthole is now submerged in water. Water begins to run down the steps. Izzy points her wand up the stairs and the door slams shut. Wallace is still at the lock. 2 segments are left. Interior/exterior, the mermaid's secret, cabin, moments later. The deckhand and the cabin boy are both piled on bunks. Sorsha dashes out the door and shuts it behind her. Most of the ship is now submerged, with the water only a few feet below the 3rd-story deck, where Sorsha stands. She climbs the railing and dives into the water. Interior, cargo, same. Wallace is on the last segment. Outside the portholes, the water gets darker and darker. The walls of the ship begin to glow softly, but slowly increase in intensity. Izzy points her wand at the wall.
Just say when, Wallace.
I almost have it.
Just say when, Wallace.
Just one more.
The walls glow brightly. The last segment of the lock pops.
When?
Redondo!
The wall shatters. Water crashes in. Exterior, ocean, same. Jeannie and Aiden help Sorsha into the lifeboat. Sorsha catches her breath and looks around. Coach, Jeannie, Aiden, Deblin, Wisp. No one else. Sorsha turns to see the last of the mermaid's secret sink beneath the water. A large bubble comes up. The shadowy shape of the ship flashes and disappears.
Dying's not so bad.
Behind them, Izzy bursts from the sea in an explosion of water, riding her broom and carrying Wallace. He falls into the lifeboat, clutching the other brooms as best he can. Izzy floats down, riding her broom side saddle, grinning.
So, France?
Exterior, French countryside, morning. Hilly terrain gives way to mountains, mountains to forested valley, and in that valley, exterior World Cup camp, continuous. A sea of tents surrounds a massive stone stadium near a small lake. Flags of every country fly from poles. People of all ethnicities erect tents and socialize. Children play. In a marked-off circle, 7 people, the Peruvian Quidditch team, appear out of thin air, holding onto a broken bicycle wheel, a portkey. They casually toss it aside and stride forward, carrying brooms to cries of recognition. A tall blur zips through the encampment gates and comes to a sudden halt, solidifying into a wooden double-decker bus, honking a musical horn. The Chinese Quidditch team disembarks, waving to applauding fans. The surface of the lake bubbles. 3 elephant-sized horned sauropods, Mokele Mobebes, burst from the water. Each is bridled and bearing passengers. The Congolese Quidditch team. The beasts roar, eliciting cheers from the onlookers. Angle on Tendaji Mutombo, 29, captain of the Congolese team, cool and confident. He waves to the crowd. As fans gather on the lakeshore, a faint melody becomes audible. A child turns from admiring the beasts and looks up. The team are descending on broomsticks in a V formation, overladen with luggage, damp and windswept, barely awake. Wisp is asleep on his broom. Wallace rides with Izzy, clutching her for dear life. Coach floats among them. More spectators turn as they hear the song playing on Aiden's wireless. Fly Together by Lorelei Lark, a slow anthem.
Coming through.
The team land awkwardly, fumbling the dismount. Wisp falls to the ground entirely. They begin to walk with legs made of jelly, yawning and scratching themselves.
Okay. Bed should be this way.
Look, Hen. They've got Nessies.
Mokele Membe, love.
Oh, Mokele Mbebe.
As fans and players watch them leave in bemusement. Mutombo dismounts and smiles at the departing Scottish team. Exterior World Cup Stadium night. The audience cheers as a platform floats above the pitch. It carries a table bearing a tall shape under a cloth. Standing by it is a man in white robes with shoulder-length white hair and golden eyes. Nicolas Flamel, 628.
Welcome, one and all, to the 408th Quidditch World Cup.
Flamel pulls the cloth, revealing a tall, intricately carved wooden trophy cup. He then pulls out of his coat a blood-red crystal the size of a billiard ball. Flamel touches the cup with the crystal, tapping it 3 times. From the point of contact, the cup turns into glistening gold. The crowd cheers. Interior, World Cup Stadium, Salamon's box, same. The room overlooks the Quidditch pitch. Through the window, the Chinese and French Quidditch teams play. Salamand sits at a desk, her back to the window, flanked by Plumier, 40, tall and sharp. The team stand before the desk. The desk is covered with photos of Salamand, her glory years as a Quidditch player. Devlin looks to the side. Sitting in front of a tall safe is a Sphinx cub. She has the body of a lion cub, the face of a child, and small wings. She hisses at Devlin.
This is a surprise. Leonard said you wouldn't make it.
You can ministry types. Probably a clerical error.
Yes. Likely the same error that requested I have you escorted home should you defy his boycott.
The team hold their breaths as Salamand leans forward.
But France loves a rebel. And not a moment too soon, Plumier.
Plumier waves her wand. The safe opens, knocking the Sphinx cub aside. 6 contracts float out and settle on the desk.
All very regular. You agree to obey all cup rules, check your wands at the gate, remain in either the World Cup Valley or Paris until the cup's completion, etc. Read it over if you'd like.
She offers a black quill.
Your quill.
Izzy takes it and signs her contract.
Son of a duck bug.
Izzy drops the quill and looks down at her hand. Her hand bears her signature, cut as if with a knife and raw. Angle on the signature on the contract, blood red.
A blood contract.
Oh, did no one tell you?
No one told us. Bother. That stings.
Oh, I apologize. We are taking security very seriously. Whatever Leonard thinks, we hope the consequences of the blood contract will be enough to deter surprises. That will fade.
The team exchange glances. Sorsha steps forward. Cut to 6 contracts, all signed, sit neatly on the desk.
Wonderful. Now, hurry along. You're in the second match.
The team leave.
Well, that solves that problem.
Exterior, World Cup Stadium, stands day. The crowd stamps and hollers in rhythm. Interior, locker room, day. The stamping is muffled but audible. The team stand in a semicircle, all in uniform, while Izzy scratches out plays on a chalkboard. The referee sticks his head in.
Second call, Scotland.
Thank you. So, we modify the pincer and move into a Hawkshead attack formation.
It won't work with 2 chasers.
It worked against Italy.
Italy was Keach. This is Peru.
Last Cup's champions. Their keeper did not miss a single toss, and they hold the record for most points in a single match.
Thank you, Wisp. We can still beat them. We just need a plan.
No, we need a carfabricated guardian angel.
Bonjour.
Angle on Angelbert Lechic, 35, magically handsome, carrying a broomstick, standing in the doorway. Sorsha and Jeannie's jaws hit the floor.
Hi. You are?
He strides in, sparkling in the light.
Angelbert Lechic, substitute chaser. I would have been here sooner, but with the boycott...
But you're bonne French.
An extrapiate. I have been living in Scotland for 3 years.
He hands Sorsha paperwork, including a moving photo of himself wearing a kilt in front of Edinburgh Castle.
That's not a problem. Naturalized foreigners have been allowed on national teams since the 17th squabble of 1920.
1930, actually. Unfortunately, even with the allowance, Vatican City still failed to qualify.
Wisp nods in surprised approval. Lechic goes to a locker and begins dressing himself. Jeannie is enraptured. Sorsha is trying her hardest not to be.
3 years. Odd we haven't met.
Not too odd. You are all from Woodtown, I believe. I spend most of my time in Blockton. Blockton? Do you ken Owen Boyd? Ken him? He owes me 3 galleons. Get out! He owes me 4.
Aiden and Lechic laugh.
Why didn't we see you at tryouts?
I likely didn't make a strong impression. I was flying on a moon trimmer. I've seen some graded.
He displays his broomstick. Devlin pops up to inspect it.
Clean sweep 3? Well, get.
But
The referee enters.
Final call!
Izzy is still scribbling on the chalkboard, oblivious to everything that's happened.
Is.
What? You the sub. Brilliant. We're ready.
She leads the team out, broom in hand. In the back, Jeannie stares after Lechic. Aiden clears his throat. She snaps too.
What? We're married, not dead. No offense, coach.
None taken.
Interior World Cup Stadium announcer booth moments later. Homer and Jacunda sit at ribbon microphones wearing fake mustaches and glasses.
Welcome to the second match of the 408th Quidditch World Cup. I'm not Homer Honeycutt.
And I'm not Jacunda Sykes.
Interior British Ministry of Magic, office same. Spencer-Moon sits at a long table filled with Playford and other ministry officials, listening to the broadcast on a radio. The officials watch Spencer-Moon nervously.
And we are not reporting live from France in violation of a boycott imposed by the British Minister of Magic.
Not at all.
Spencer-Moon twitches. Exterior World Cup Stadium, same. The team fly out onto the pitch. Sorsha flies by Lechic.
Stay high and follow me. There's no time to teach you our moves.
I'm sure you'll have time later for you to show me your moves.
Sorsha nearly falls off her broom. The Scottish come to face the Peruvian team. The referee hovers between them.
I want a good clean match from all of you.
On the ground, a chest pops open. The bludgers shoot out, followed by a flash of gold, barely seen before disappearing. The referee looks around, then tosses the quaffle into the air.
The quaffle is released and the game begins!
A female Peruvian chaser catches the ball. She flies, dodging Sorsha and Devlin, and nears the goal hoops. Lechic pulls up by her. He winks. Her jaw drops, and so does the quaffle.
Marquez fumbles the quaffle.
Lechic dives, catches the quaffle, and loops around toward the Peruvian goal hoops.
Newcomer Lechic has the quaffle.
Held in his strong hands.
2 chasers fly down to block Lechic's path. The woman sees Lechic's face, gasps, and collides with her male teammate. Lechic dodges and continues flying forward. Sorsha watches as Lechic flies across the pitch, obstacles disappearing before him. Her brow furrows. Izzy flies by her.
New guy's pretty good.
Lechic comes up on the goal hoops. He readies the quaffle.
Watch out, Lechic!
A bludger flies straight at Lechic. It closes in, and a female Peruvian beater throws herself between Lechic and the bludger and bats it away. Lechic tosses the quaffle through the goal hoop.
10 points to Scott.
10 points to Lechic!
The audience cheers.
Who is this guy?
Montage match highlights. 1. Lechic and Devlin fly on either side of a male Peruvian chaser. Sorsha collides with him head-on as Lechic and Devlin separate, causing him to drop the quaffle. 2. Aiden and Jeannie fly toward the goal, hitting a bludger back and forth between them. Jeannie hits it at the keeper. It knocks him down as the quaffle flies through the hoop. 3. Devlin's broom catches fire. He manages to toss the quaffle through the goal hoop before crashing. 4, Izzy catches the snitch. A trumpet sounds.
Scotland wins! Scotland wins! Merlin's name, what up?
Interior British Ministry of Magic, office, same. Spencer-Moon clicks the radio off. His drumming fingers are the only sound in the room as the officials hold their breath. The drumming stops.
I do hope you haven't unpacked, Mr. Playford.
Interior World Cup Stadium, hallway, day. The freshly showered team walk, exuberant and mid-song. A servant in a gray uniform runs past them, going the other way and carrying a tea set.
Where you fly, we fly together.
You're not so bad, Frog.
The servant bumps shoulders with Wisp. The tea set falls and shatters, spilling tea across the floor. Only Wisp notices as the servant drops to the floor and begins picking up the pieces. The team continue on without him as Wisp pulls out his wand.
Sorry, let me get that. Reparo!
The tea set magically repairs itself and the tea flies back into the pot. Wisp offers the servant his hand. She stares at it, then at him, eyes wide. She picks up the tea set and runs away. Wisp's about to say something when a trumpet sounds.
Was that the end of the game, Horde?
Well, it can't be. They just started.
Exterior, player tunnel, moments later. The team run to the lip of the tunnel, overlooking the pitch. The crowd is split between cheers and boos.
If you're just tuning in, you've already missed it. Tendaji Mutombo has caught this snitch in an astounding 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Mutombo lands in the tunnel, holding the golden snitch, followed by the rest of the Congolese Quidditch team. They dismount their brooms and walk down the tunnel, passing the Scottish. Mutombo meets Izzy's eyes, nods, and continues walking. The team watch them depart.
Merlin's Baird, that's amazing! 5 minutes?
Shut up, Wisp.
That's the fastest snitch catch in World Cup history. He beats Busantos' Kentucky's record by...
Shut up, Wisp.
Izzy smiles. Interior, Bulgarian pub, night. A smattering of patrons listen as the wireless broadcast concludes. All dialogue in brackets is in Bulgarian.
With that victory, the Congo advances to the quarterfinals.
Lazar Crumb, 40, a mammoth of a man, sits at the bar. His open shirt reveals a large snake tattoo across his chest. He empties his glass, rises, and wobbles toward the door. Exterior Bulgarian street moments later. Crumb walks down the empty street, slurring through a song. A hooded wizard emerges from the shadows ahead.
These are Crumb.
2 more hooded wizards emerge behind Crumb. He's trapped.
We need you to come with us.
Look at that. You took the bait.
Instantly sober, Crumb flashes his wand. A blast of red light knocks the first hooded wizard off his feet. The other hooded wizards draw their wands. Before they can do anything else, though, the second is hit by a red spell coming from a trash can, knocking him over. The trash can stands up, transforming into a burly bodyguard. A cat emerges and transforms into a slim bodyguard. She waves her hand, the pavement ripples, throwing the third hooded wizard against a wall. The third hooded wizard crumples. The first hooded wizard groans. Crumb advances on him slowly.
I have known you were tailing me for days. Golorovsky, Rayumain, Kid Darrow. And now Awful Lion's gone quiet. Did you not think I didn't see this coming? I'm just insulted that Grindelwald didn't send his best.
Green light fills the street behind Crumb. He turns. The burly bodyguard stands over the second hooded wizard. Traces of green light fade from his wand, pointed at the corpse. He crouches down, rifles through the dead man's cloak, and pulls out a silver badge. He pockets it.
Slinks, just as I thought.
What have you done? We needed them alive for questioning.
The slim bodyguard points her wand at the third hooded wizard. Green light shoots out, striking him in the chest. Crumb draws his wand.
Stand down! I order you!
He clutches his throat, dropping his wand. He falls to his knees, choking. Angle on his tattoo. The snake, now animated, has wrapped itself around his throat and is squeezing. The burly bodyguard advances as Crumb continues to choke.
I apologize, Mr. Crumb. I'd have made my move sooner, but I had to identify your would-be rescuers first. With that mystery solved, we can finally conclude our business and move you somewhere more secure.
Crumb passes out and the tattoo snake relaxes. The burly bodyguard's face begins to bubble, rearranging his features, the telltale signs of polyjuice potion.
Limited consolations.
Within a few steps, he is a new man, American dark wizard Percival Graves, 50, exuding relaxed, menacing strength.
Grindelwald did send his best.
Graves points his wand down at the first hooded figure. Green light fills the screen. Writer's note: while this screenplay is an alternative sequel to Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, it ignores the part where Colin Farrell was Johnny Depp all along. This is in order to preserve Grindelwald's mystery and make use of Percival Graves, a perfectly good supporting villain. Exterior, Paris, day. A cyclist pedals through the streets, past pedestrians and honking cars, the Eiffel Tower peeking over the tops of the buildings, not a magical thing in sight. He passes a statue of a woman in an elegant dress on top of a pedestal against a wall. A pedestrian in colorful garb checks that no one is watching, then steps through the stone pedestal into exterior, Place Cachet, continuous. The French magical shopping district. The cramped street is filled with multicolored storefronts advertising everything from cauldrons to owls. Robed shoppers bustle in and out of stores and mingle on the sidewalk. One storefront features broomsticks. Interior, broom shop, continuous. Brooms cover the walls. The merchandise is mostly split between blue packaging and orange. Behind the service counter are blue and orange posters advertising the Clean Sweep Broom Company and the Comet Trading Company, respectively. Devlin stands at the back counter while the broom merchant inspects a battered broom. Wisp is browsing. Devlin eyes a display of toys on the counter. Plush sphinx dolls. He scowls.
She's been modified.
I did that. The durability charm to balance the acceleration charm.
Clever but unstable. Probably why that one fell apart.
Angle on a burned broom held together with tape.
Warranty won't cover tampering. The best use of your money will be to buy all new broom.
He's got an Oak Shaft 79? You can't sights cross the Atlantic on one of these.
An expensive eye, but the broom chooses a wizard. They say.
No, they dinna.
They do in Paris.
Well, stick with the clean sweeps.
7 clean sweep 3s, plus handling, hex protection warranty comes to 840 galleons.
840 galleons? That's ridiculous.
Quidditch is not a poor wizard's game.
Didn't have a team discount?
Of course, for the French team. For the Scottish team, however...
He lifts a sphinx doll and squeezes it at Devlin. It squeaks. Exterior, Place Cachet, day. Wallace and Lechic barter with a street vendor over potions. She laughs a little too hard at something Lechic says. A few paces away, Sorsha and Izzy stand near a winged horse, hitched to a cart of boxes labeled mandrake bulbs. Sorsha is watching Lechic while Izzy scribbles plays in a notebook. Littlewit hovers by the horse's tail, casually dodging as the horse tries to swat him.
No one's that handsome by accident.
Who cares, as long as he can play?
I do not trust him. You did not keep a face like that by flying around bludgers. You ken he didn't even have a single scar.
How can you possibly ken that?
I slipped Aiden a sickle to take a peek in the showers.
Lechic and Wallace approach, Wallace with a bag of supplies.
That's everything on the list.
And this?
He flourishes a chocolate wrapped like a snitch to Sorsha.
Aw, thank you. Here it is.
She hands the chocolate off to Izzy.
Brilliant.
Izzy scarfs it as Sorsha and Lechic consider each other. Lechic glances over Sorsha's shoulder. His smile drops.
Don't look now, but we're being followed.
Sorsha and Izzy both look.
Did you see the man with a face like a gargoyle?
Angle on Vautier Lesage, 50, ugly, discreetly watching.
That man is Vautier Lesage, owner of France's largest gambling house. I first noticed him 4 blocks back. I imagine he intends to avoid a devastating payout in the event of our victory. A quick glance. Yes, his men have us surrounded. If we are to survive, we must do exactly as I say.
As Lechic talks, Izzy reaches into Wallace's bag and pulls out a wax brick. She breaks off little pieces and hands them to Sorsha and Wallace, then puts hers into her own ears.
The moment I stop talking, I will cause a diversion. Sorsha, you grab Wallace while...
Izzy points her wand in front of the winged horse.
Serpent Sorsha.
A snake erupts from Izzy's wand and lands on the pavement. The winged horse screams, rears, and takes off flying, pulling the cart with it. A box falls off the cart, spilling bulbs with mouths that let out an ear-shattering cry. All around, people cover their ears and shut their eyes, including Lesage and Lechic. Izzy, Sorsha, and Wallace begin to run, pulling Lechic ahead. Wisp and Devlin step out of the broom shop, carrying their brooms.
Good news, Captain. Devlin's going to fix our brooms himself.
Without stopping, Izzy and Sorsha pull Wisp and Devlin along. Behind them, Lesage is gaining, trailed by lackeys. They turn a corner, speeding up.
Playford!
A block ahead, Playford is walking in their direction, though he hasn't noticed them yet. He is flanked by 2 Aurors. The team pause in front of an empty stretch of brick wall.
Oh, good. Oars.
In here!
They turn. Lechic is beckoning from a doorway. They throw themselves through the door, slamming it shut. Interior museum, moments later. The team step out of a door a foot above the floor.
Strange place for a door.
We see the rest of the room. It is filled with dusty paintings and artifacts behind glass and velvet ropes. As Wisp steps down, he loses his balance and the brooms slip from his arms, clattering loudly. A curator enters.
Here for the tour?
No, we're at.
Yes!
Lechic is looking out the window at the street below. Lesage and his men are still searching for them.
A long tour is just what we were hoping for. If you'd be so kind.
Come along then.
The curator leads them past paintings of witches burning at the stake or hiding from mobs.
In the 1600s, wizard persecution peaked, with dunkings, hangings, and burnings at an all-time high.
They come to a wide floor-to-ceiling painting with moving figures. It depicts 7 men and women in 17th century attire from various countries and ethnicities in the act of drawing blood with a knife and signing a parchment.
The Secret Seven. In 1689, these leaders of the world's largest visiting communities met to draft and sign this.
Below the painting is a document, sits on a pedestal, framed in glass, identical to the one in the Ministry of Magic.
The International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy. 3 years later, this International Confederation of Wizards formed and adopted the statute as law, forever hiding the wizarding world from muggles.
Angle on the document bearing 7 signatures in blood.
By our blood, we pledge our lives, our communities, and our descendants to the preservation of this pact for the greater good.
Heavy silence. They've heard these words before.
Now this is just a replica. The real Statute of Secrecy is held by the British Ministry of Magic. Next year will mark 250 years since the signing. Oh, you should come back then. The museum has big plans for the sesquicentennial.
Exterior, World Cup Stadium, pitch, early morning. The Scottish and Chinese teams fly around the fog-filled pitch. They slump on their brooms. Interior, announcer booth, same. Jocunda is fully asleep. Homer is not far behind.
There is checking in. We are in hour 12 of the 3rd quarter-final match. China versus Scotland. At 160-10, China still holds the lead with an ironclad defense. Yet Scotland perseveres through the night and into the morning light, through the fog, through the pain, through something else. No sign of the Snitch.
Interior, Salamon's box, same. Salamand and Graves sit in armchairs watching the game as a servant in a gray uniform pours them drinks. Plumier stands behind Salamand. The Sphinx cub sleeps by the safe.
Gondler is growing anxious.
Did he say that? Or is this another one of your prophecies?
Doesn't take a seer to see his displeasure. You have had 2 of our targets within reach for over a week and done nothing.
Americans, I forget that you don't follow Quidditch.
Intercut, pitch, announcer booth, Salamon's box. The Chinese keeper narrowly misses the quaffle as it flies through a goal hoop.
Good! 10 points! The score is 160-20!
Izzy smiles.
If you did, you'd know that a good player doesn't grab the snitch the moment she sees it.
Angle on Izzy's knees, gripping the golden snitch. Izzy parts her knees, releasing the snitch. It hovers in front of her for a second. She grabs and holds it aloft.
Darrow has the snitch! Scotland wins!
She takes it when the moment is right.
Interior World Cup Stadium, locker room, day. Wallace surveys the post-game mess. He cracks his knuckles and sets a record to play, the Boogie Woogie Bogey Hex. Montage, managing the kit. Wallace oils a broom handle with a rag. He gently combs a broom's brush. He hand washes a uniform using a washboard. He wraps grip tape around a club handle. He shines a boot, first in a row of grimy boots. He sews up a tear in a uniform. He polishes a golden snitch and places it in a plaque holding one other snitch and 2 empty placeholders. He surveys the now pristine room and smiles. Exterior, World Cup camp, day. Wallace walks through the camp. He passes a group of servants in gray uniforms trying to push a heavy wagon while the French Quidditch team watches, laughing at them and drinking. Roche, 35, handsome in a greasy way, notices Wallace.
Cuckoo! Hey! Hello!
Wallace turns.
Yes, you? You are the Scottish Crachmol? The squid?
Wallace pales.
Je te l'ai dit! Wasn't the Sphinx jinx started because a squid didn't get to go to the World Cup? And the Scottish are still keeping you around?
Wallace starts to walk away. Roche follows.
Where are you going? Is it true that the squibs leech magic? Leech?
He mimes sucking and hisses noises. Wallace keeps walking.
How rude. I asked you a question.
He points his wand at Wallace. A patch of earth explodes at Wallace's feet, causing him to jump.
I think you might be a sneak. Did you sneak into our locker room and suck the magic out of our brooms? Is that why we lost?
He points his wand again, causing 2 more explosions. A crowd has begun to form. A French player tugs at Roche.
Roche, we are not supposed to...
Did you do it, Crachmol? Confess! Confess, you muggle cousin!
A lasso comes out of his wand and wraps around Wallace's throat. Wallace falls to his knees, fighting
Come,
to
little
breathe.
Crachmol. Tell me you are a leech. Come on!
Wallace struggles to breathe.
I'm a leech.
Roche releases. Wallace gasps.
That'll teach you. Squeep.
Roche spits, laughs, and walks away. The crowd disperses, leaving Wallace alone on his back. Interior, candy store, back room, day. Employees sit on crates around a radio.
The second quarterfinal match, Congo versus Australia.
The manager comes in, distributes snacks, and sits.
The quaffle is released and the game has begun.
A service bell rings. The manager rises and leaves to interior front of house continuous, where a patron waits at the counter. The manager acknowledges her and places a shaking parcel on the counter. The patron hands over several coins. The manager puts the coins into the register, closes it, writes up a receipt. The patron takes the receipt and parcel, and the manager walks back to interior back room continuous, where the others are staring at the radio, gaping.
It's all over! Mutombo has the snitch! I repeat, Mutombo has the snitch! Congo wins!
Interior, team tent, day. The inside is spacious and fully furnished, with sections blocked off for individual bedrooms. Wisp is at a table, writing. Sorsha and Jeannie stand at a closed room flap. Muttering comes from the other side.
Is you okay in there, hand?
Lechic enters.
What's going on?
Captain's having an izzy tizzy.
Come on, Fanny Buzz. We're all here for you. Right, Sorsha?
You're being ridiculous.
Coach floats through the flap, passing through Jeannie and Sorsha. They shiver.
Well, I've done all I could do.
Where's Wallace?
He had an errand.
Come on, Iz. Let us help.
Is this about Mutombo's snitch catch?
Izzy pulls the flap back violently. She's a mess.
A minute and 15 seconds. 1:15. How did he get so fast? Why is he so fast?
The room behind her is another mess. Chalkboards, papers, and walls are covered in sketches of plays increasingly complex.
And it's not just the World Cup either. The qualifiers. The All Africa Cup. Every match, 150 to Z. He snatches the snitch before anyone can toss the quaffle or bat a bludger.
Angle on a series of newspaper clippings on the wall. Photos of Mutombo smirk at them. One of the photos watches Littlewit as he zips back and forth, trying to escape the photo's gaze.
That means none of these bloody plays matter. Not this one, or this one, or this one.
She begins tearing papers. Wallace enters carrying a brown paper bag and an envelope. He hands the envelope to Jeannie.
She having an izzy tizzy?
Do not start with me, Wallace. How can I possibly complete with one bloody 15?
Sorsha grabs her as Jeannie opens the envelope.
Ez, I think we need a break.
Everyone stares at Sorsha, agape.
The stress is clearly killing you, and you're no good to us dead. No offense, Coach.
None taken.
Let's get you out of here and thinking about something besides Quidditch. One night.
Jeannie hands Sorsha a slip of paper. Sorsha looks at it.
And this is just the thing.
She shows the paper, a party invitation. Interior party salon night. A lively cocktail party is in full swing. The room is packed with well-dressed partygoers, creating a din of conversation and laughter. A Baroque ghost plays on a piano. The team and coach enter, dressed to the nines and well-groomed. Izzy is wearing the Deathly Hallows amulet. A drink tray floats by Aiden and Jeannie, who reach for glasses. Sorsha swats their hands.
No alcohol before a game, not even a butterbeer.
Yes. Listen to your mother.
Sorsha gives them all a stern look as they split up. Coach waves at the ghost pianist and heads toward him.
Tendaji Mutombo, you dog! When did you die?
Izzy and Wallace move through the crowd, Littlewit with them.
This is ridiculous. I feel ridiculous.
Relax, you look great.
Who said I didn't? I never ken what to do with these things.
Sorsha said to take it easy.
Which is hard to do when someone you didn't want to talk to is introducing you to people you didn't want to ken.
Mademoiselle Darrow.
Salamand, falcon on her shoulder, beckons from a group. Izzy looks at Wallace, I told you so, and they approach.
You must meet your countrymen, Messieurs Borgin et Burke.
Borgin, 50, and Burke, 50, austere wizards with something dark about them, nod. Burke eyes Izzy's amulet.
Purveyors of the unusual and ancient.
Salamand clears her throat and indicates Wallace.
Oh, Wallace, McNaught.
Keeper of the scuffed and smelly.
We were just saying, Mr. Rowe, how impressively you played.
Yes, it's rare for one with your heritage to advance so far.
Oh, and it's rare for one with your breath.
Because she's a mudblood, right?
Izzy double takes. Borgin appraises Wallace.
That's what you're saying, right? Muggleborns aren't as good at Quidditch as purebloods.
I'm unfamiliar with the Scotland McNaughts. Mixed, I presume.
Unfamiliar. That's a funny way.
Actually, my dad was very proud of his blood. Showed me how he could trace it back to Merlin.
A prestigious bloodline.
That's what he said, and then he'd say it was a sin to end it with a squid like me. Funny, isn't it? If me and Iz had switched places at birth, you'd say her talents were the result of good breeding instead of overcoming challenges. And I'd be somewhere milking a cow, only you'd still think I was trash.
Coach appears.
Sorry to fall off. What are we talking about?
I'm going to find some food.
He walks away.
Squibs, so dramatic.
Oi! You got something to say?
His actions speak for themselves. Even good blood can curdle.
Izzy takes a step forward. Coach blocks her path.
Time and a place for a brawl, Darrow. This is neither. Go cool your head.
Izzy glares at Borgin, then stomps off. Coach turns to them.
Now, have you heard the one about the Bluter Ogre?
Littlewit lingers, then flies off. He passes the entry where a house elf is barring entry to Playford and his Aurors. Littlewit flies to the bar. Sorsha is speaking to the barman.
Didn't you have anything without alcohol?
The barman fills a shot glass with milk.
Hilarious. Leave the bottle.
Lechic sits beside her.
A second glass, please. Enchanté.
Sorsha doesn't drink.
You do not like me.
Shocking, I ken.
Unusual. I'm very likable.
Modest, too. Listen, I may not like you, but I'll still play with you, which is a load more than I'd give most jossers. So drink your milk and let sleeping bugbears lie, eh?
You will play with me?
Quidditch! Oh, God, no, your beard.
Sorsha Parkin, you are...
A sparkling laugh catches his attention. Angle on Mimi, Gigi, and Vivi ethereally beautiful, almost shining. They are surrounded by simpering admirers.
Ugh, Vela, empty-headed forest nymphs. They're more your speed.
They are my cousins.
Beat.
No. Yes. You're a Vela. You're a bloke.
Half Villa, and I'll happily tell you.
Ha! Wait. Does that mean... Are you the ugly one in the family?
Oh, I beg your pardon?
I see it now. They could cut diamonds with their cheekbones. You could probably grate cheese.
Ha ha. Let's just say I didn't move to Scotland for the haggis.
Oh, is someone a grumpy, ugly duckling?
I'm leaving.
Then a fash. One day you'll grow into a swan.
You know, at first I thought your aloofness was charming. Now I see it as a sign of the insecurities you seek to hide by identifying and attacking weaknesses in others.
Forgive me for not being more sympathetic that your only weakness is being anything less than the prettiest lass at the party. But when you rely on your looks as much as you do, I guess moving to another country really is the only option.
Lechic seethes. He downs his milk in one gulp and walks away toward the villa.
Mimi, Gigi, Vivi, you're all radiant as usual.
I'm sorry. You are?
Angelbert, Baudelaire.
Oh, Angelbert.
Are you waiting the party?
No, I am the party. I mean, I was invited. I'm a Quidditch player.
Oh, look how much weight you've lost. You must be halfway to your goal.
I am just the right build for a chaser, thank you.
Oh, Angelbert, your stutter. It's hardly noticeable.
I haven't stuttered since I was third.
Oh, mon pauvre. Don't hurt yourself.
I'm not.
Sorsha appears with Lilwith hovering by her.
Okay, champ. That'll do.
She guides him away but looks back over her shoulder.
By the way, you're so much prettier than your sisters.
Merci.
The Vila exchange looks and begin to argue among themselves.
No.
Lilwith lingers, then notices that Sorsha and Lechic are gone. He flies back past the entryway where the house elf succeeds in turning Playford and his Aurors away. He continues across the room and finds Jeannie arm wrestling a large wizard while Aiden and a crowd cheer her on. Lilwith lingers for a moment, then moves on until he finds Wisp and Devlin. The three consider a life-size ice sculpture of a sphinx. Enchanted, it casually licks a paw.
Is this a good sign or bad?
The sound of glass shattering is heard. Wisp looks for it. Angle on a servant, hurriedly picking up the pieces of a broken champagne flute. Salamand stands over her. Wisp furrows his brow. He's about to say something.
Merlin's bones. Do you ken who that is?
Devlin directs Wisp's attention to two businessmen speaking with carefully neutral expressions.
Bob Alderton and Randolph Keach, residents of Comet and Clean Sweep. They hate each other. I'll bet they've never been in the same room before. I have to talk to him.
He lurches forward, Wisp right behind him. Alderton and Keach halt their banter as Devlin appears before them.
Mr. Alderton, Mr. Keach, have you considered pairing a gripping charm with the slippery jinx on your brooms to increase mortality while decreasing wind resistance?
Their expressions don't change. Devlin pales.
Lovely evening. I'm fine.
He retreats. He retreats and Wisp follows, leaving Littlewit behind. The Ice Sphinx swipes at Littlewit, who flies away, passing the still arguing Vila. Their features are sharper, bird-like. Littlewit finds Wallace by an enormous cake, in front of a tall fern. An enchanted knife is slicing the cake and placing the slices on plates that float away, serving guests. Every time Wallace reaches for a passing plate, it veers out of reach. He lunges after one, and trods on a slippered foot.
I'm so sorry.
Wallace stops and looks at the base of the fern. Instead of a pot, the fern rests on a pair of robed human legs and feet. On closer inspection, the fern itself is man-shaped.
Don't let her see you talking to me.
Wallace turns back to face the room.
That's it. I'm just an ordinary house fern. Keep walking, no need to be suspicious.
Angle on Salamand, walking with Borgin and Burke.
Alcina Solomon.
Grateful woman. Been trying to put me in a corner all night. A game of mouse and cat, no? But the mouse is winning, no? Look at the company she keeps. Purveyors of the unusual and ancient, nothing unusual about darkness and bigotry. Though they are more ancient than even I admit.
Salamand and Borgin exit. With a sigh of relief, the fern subtly transforms into Nicolas Flamel.
Not my finest disguise. Still, it fooled the Inquisition, and you can never expect.
Nicholas pats his robe pocket and startles, discovering a hole. He scans the floor, anxious.
That's the Oberon. You haven't seen, that is, you wouldn't.
Wallace bends down and picks up a blood-red crystal.
You dropped this.
Merci! Lose my head if it weren't nailed down. Don't tell my wife. You're returning this, just so.
I could mend that pocket. I have my sewing kit here somewhere.
Nicholas smiles and offers his hand.
With Nicolas Flamel.
Wallace McNaught.
Tell me, Wallace, do you play?
Littlewit emerges from the cake, beak covered in frosting, and flies away, passing Jeannie, now arm wrestling two men at once, as Aiden takes bets from the crowd. Littlewit passes the now monstrous Vila. Their faces end in sharp beaks, their hands are talons, and wings have burst from their backs. They slash at one another and throw fireballs. The men around them cheer. Littlewit flies away, and a fireball passes him from behind, narrowly missing him and the Ice Sphinx. The Sphinx turns and hisses, spots Littlewit, and swipes at him but misses. Littlewit continues in the direction of the fireball, passing a burning waste bin. He moves down a hallway, passing Devlin, who vomits into a plant as Wisp pats his back. Littlewit flies down the hallway and passes a door open ajar. Interior back room, same. Salamand is meeting with Borgin. Borgin presents a sinister knife inscribed with runes. Salamand takes and hefts it. Exterior balcony moments later. Littlewit finds Izzy curled up in a chair by the railing, scribbling in a notebook, crumpled papers at her feet.
Hey, Littlewit.
A golden snidget.
Izzy looks up. Mutombo stands over her, examining Littlewit, gently caged in his hand.
Let him go.
They're extinct, aren't they? Their use in Quidditch was outlawed long before the game came to Congo. Never dreamed I'd hold one, so fragile.
Let him go.
Mutombo releases Littlewit. Littlewit nestles into Izzy.
Slower than I expected.
He's old for a snidget.
Not him, you. 12 hours to beat China? How unexpected of the inventor of the Darrow drive.
What are you? Obsessed with me?
Mutombo picks up and examines a crumpled piece of paper.
I could ask you the same thing. This will never work.
Well, shoot. I keep all my best ideas crumpled on the floor.
No, I mean this.
He motions to all of the papers.
All this strategy, you're trying to solve a riddle where there's only a simple verse. All you have to do is catch the snitch before I do.
Is that all?
No small task, I admit, but straightforward. You worry about the quaffles and blungers when there's only one ball in this game that matters.
You make it sound like we're the only players on the pitch.
Aren't we?
Okay. I've had about all I can take from condescending dunderheads for one night. So, why didn't you take your 115 tush back inside for some punch and quit telling me how to do my job?
Your job is to win the game. Your team's job is to stay out of the way.
No, my job is to end the game. My team's job. That's it. Isn't it? Marilyn, I'm tired. Come on, Littlewit. Combustio.
The crumpled paper spontaneously combusts, leaving only ash.
See you on the pitch.
She leaves. Mutombo watches her go, bemused. Interior party salon moments later. Izzy strides into the room. Sorsha and Lechic join her, walking through the crowd.
Where have you been?
Strategizing. Where is everyone? Oi! Scotland! We're leaving.
At their table, Aiden and Jeannie scoop up their winnings into a bag and trot over to join Izzy. Devlin and Wisp join. They pass the Ice Sphinx, which hops down from its table.
Is it Izzy over, Captain?
Shut up, Wisp.
Izzy bumps into Burke.
Excuse me.
Burke turns to her, eyes her amulet, and leans in, smiling.
Will we die? Just a little.
What?
Burke pulls back.
I had you confused with someone else. My mistake.
He turns back to his conversation. Izzy resumes walking.
Bloody loon. Where's Wallace?
Singing becomes audible over the din. The crowd parts to reveal Wallace playing the piano. He and Nicholas are singing Barufio and the Buffalo, a jaunty wizard folk song.
Oh, there was a bloke Barufio who learned a bit too late that when it comes to casting spells you must enunciate. Cause when he should have said an F but actually said S, Barufio found a buffalo sitting on his chest.
The buffalo got panicked. Oh, where could it be? For this stuffy little study was not the Serengeti. Barufio cried a curse to send his bovine foe from there, but missed the silent Y and found hyenas in his hair.
The hyenas chased the buffalo, barreling round the room. Barufio saw the time and cried, my wife will be back soon. Methinks a jinx is just the thing to get my parlour cleared. He mangled up the diphthong and a humpback whale appeared. An alligator later, plus an ostrich and a boar. He snapped his wand across his knee and magic he forswore. So children, when you mumble, I hope you don't forget Barufio and a buffalo. He's mispronouncing pet.
Wallace bids goodbye to Nicholas and joins the team. They make their way to the main door. Coach joins them.
I've figured him out. We're stronger, quicker, and smarter. We're winning this match, even if it kills us. No offense, Cole.
The Ice Sphinx pounces, missing Littlewit and tackling Izzy to the ground. The crowd gasps.
Definitely not a good sign.
Exterior World Cup Stadium. Entrance day. 2 security trolls stand by the gate, 12 feet tall with small heads. One holds something like a metal detector. Izzy leads the team through the checkpoint. The troll passes the detector over her. It crackles as it passes her wand. She hands over her wand and receives a ticket. The team follows suit and continue down the hall. A troll stops Wallace.
I didn't have a wand.
The trolls exchange a look. One grabs Wallace by the ankles, lifts him into the air, and shakes him upside down. Items fall to the ground. Coins, a book, a pencil, and a gun. The troll drops Wallace, and the other picks up the gun. It examines the weapon, holding the barrel up to its eye. It opens the chamber. The bullets clatter onto the floor. Hearing the noise, Izzy turns, sees the gun, and looks at Wallace. Wallace stands and grabs the gun back.
Does that look like a bloody wand to you?
The trolls shrug and wave him along. Wallace shoves the gun into his coat pocket, grabs his other items, and walks forward. Izzy joins him, Littlewit hovering between them. Angle on 5 bullets lying on the ground.
It's not a big deal, Iz.
You're lucky those are trolls. What if they had been Aurors?
No, those would be some progressive hiring practices, huh?
Since when do you carry a gun like a...
Like a muggle? Gee, Iz, since I'm just as likely to cast a spell as any muggle, maybe it's the time I started acting like one.
That's your dad talking.
And I should have listened to him. You've never understood.
Of course I do. In the Slytherin dungeons.
The dungeons! I'm tired of the story. At least you got into the castle. At least you get to fly.
I didn't get to do anything. I had to fight to be here. And for you to be here, I might add.
And who said that I wanted to be here?
Silence. Littlewit hangs awkwardly between them. An attendant appears behind them and clears his throat.
Monsieur Magnon, Monsieur Flamel has invited you to watch the match from his executive box.
I didn't... Listen,
Come on. If you're going to be somewhere you hate, you might as well be comfortable.
They part. Littlewit lingers, then follows Wallace. Izzy turns to look at Wallace, but he is already gone. Interior, locker room, moments later. Izzy enters.
Okay, let's review our strategy.
Let's.
Spencer-Moon stands before the team, Playford at his side.
You tell, what have you been thinking?
Interior, executive box, moments later. Wallace enters with Littlewit. The box is like a study, with bookshelves, leather chairs, and a crackling fireplace. Nicholas stands at a workbench wearing dark goggles and a leather apron. The bench holds an alchemy set, twisting tubes and glass containers in varied shapes.
Wallace! A burst of alchemical inspiration! I may have cracked the process of universal solvent!
A beaker of molten silver bubbles over a freely burning flame. Nearby is a bowl of brown dust.
If I add these two elements...
Nicholas lifts the beaker and pours the concoction over the dust. The elements mix, glow brightly, and form a solid orange substance. Nicholas breaks a piece off and eats it.
Jeez. Odd how often that happens. Oh well.
I didn't ken why I'm even here.
That dramatic is still edible after all.
Wallace is standing by the window, looking down on the pitch.
But we're not talking about the spread or the company, I hope.
When I came of age, me die, I moved a door knock. No wizards thought I'd go muggle. Put it all behind me, made a real go of it.
Nicholas joins him at the window.
So, why did you come back?
Izzy tracked me down. Got me a job with the Wigtown Wanderers, and I thought, well, I'd rather live in a world with Quidditch than one without.
They sit a moment in silence, admiring the view of the arena.
I owe you an apology, Wallace. We intended for the statute of secrecy to protect wizard kind. We did not realize that in cutting the word in two, we had condemned the unfortunate few, like yourself, to live in between, neither here nor there.
We?
You didn't know.
Nicholas hands Wallace a flyer. Under the words 250 years of secrecy is a reproduction of the painting from the museum. We now see that Nicholas is one of the 7 figures.
I drafted the statute of secrecy in 1689 with my friends.
He begins to point them out.
Galowski, Rionin, Quintero, Avolion, Krum, and McBushrock. And there I am, 379 years old, and the rest of my life still ahead of me. Where has time gone?
Interior, locker room, same. The team sit on benches as Spencer-Moon slowly circles them. Playford stands by coach.
The Department of International Magical Cooperation has a straightforward purpose.
Giving bombs and Diddy's big boy jobs so they feel important?
Maintaining our ministry's relationship with the larger wizarding world, and sometimes that calls for counterintuitive measures, like the boycott.
What? Counterintuitive? Is that what you tell your barber when he asks, what will it be today?
When the international community fails to take the threat like Galeric Grindelwald seriously, someone has to set an example.
What, you bald-headed monkey dangleberry flagger?
Why is he here?
He haunts the team, sir.
And I'll tell you another thing.
Spencer-Moon waves his wand. Coach spins rapidly and flies into a jar. The jar rocks back and forth as Coach shouts muffled, unintelligible obscenities.
Here's your play. You will fly out there, concede the match, and return to Britain, where you will publicly apologize and endorse the boycott. Do so with a believable amount of sincerity, and that will be the end of it. Am I understood?
Izzy steps forward.
We can't go home, sir. This team is the only thing protecting the world from Gellert Grindelwald.
Beat. Whatever anyone expected, it wasn't this.
Explain.
I first became aware of Grindelwald's attention when we were attacked in Italy.
You brawl with a band of drunks?
A cunning disguise. Only I pulled this off the thug's leader.
She removes and hands over the Deathly Hallows amulet.
That is the emblem of Grindelwald's inner circle. The sign of the demon's eye.
What's the demon's eye?
Shh, she's doing something.
And why would the Grindelwald care about a British Quidditch match?
I was confused too, until we were chased through Place Cachet by
Va-t-elle les sages?
France's most notorious sports bookie. Now, what reason could a bookie have for wanting to take out a Quidditch team? And how might that align with a certain dark wizard staging a bloody and expensive revolution?
Are you suggesting that the Grindelwald, the greatest threat to wizard secrecy, placed a bet on the World Cup?
One big enough to fund his revolution for years to come.
He has singled you out as the biggest threat to his win.
Do you see any other Quidditch teams dodging assassins? You want to be an example to the international community for standing up to Grindelwald? Let us play.
Spencer-Moon weighs her and the amulet.
It is plausible, if only just...
The referee enters.
Last call, Scotland!
Beat. Finally, Spencer-Moon pockets the amulet.
My people will look into it. If your theory proves correct, you may consider yourself officially on ministry business. If not...
Scotland!
Don't let me keep you.
Interior entry tunnel, moments later. Izzy leads the team toward the pitch.
Captain, just so we're clear, because I'm not sure we are, at least, I'm not that I wasn't paying attention, but if we do not win, Grindelwald's going to take over the world or something?
Do not be a diddy, Wisp.
Izzy made all that stuff up.
That's all I could think of. Nothing's changed. We still have to win.
Because if Spencer-Moon wasn't going to send us to Azkaban before, he definitely is now.
Oh, good. Way less pressure.
Exterior, World Cup Stadium, pitch, moments later. The team hover on their brooms, facing the Congo, the referee floating between them. Mutombo and Izzy lock eyes. The referee tosses the quaffle into the air. The players burst into movement. A Congolese chaser catches the quaffle.
Tamba has the quaffle. She passes to Nagoyi. Nagoyi passes to Shako.
Izzy pops up directly in front of Mutombo, facing him.
Good evening, Miss Darrow.
He looks away from her. She floats back into his line of sight. He looks away again. She returns to his line of sight.
Really? This is your strategy?
The Congolese approach the Scottish goal hoops. Mutombo tries to fly away. Izzy blocks his path.
You're acting like a child.
Mutombo tries to fly away again. Izzy blocks his path.
Funny. You said your team's job is to stay out of your way. So, get good enough at a job.
The Congolese chaser tosses the quaffle directly at Wisp, who easily catches it. Confused.
And you kind of forget how to do anything else. My team, on the other hand.
The McNabs swing their clubs together and hit a bludger. It soars at the Congolese keeper, knocking him off his broom.
Banza is down! Congo is keeperless!
Sorsha tosses the quaffle through the hoop.
10 points to Scotland.
Hey, didn't you have a perfect record? Odd, that.
Mutombo scowls. Series of shots. Great Britain is listening. A Scottish wizard pub packed with patrons. A banner reads, Nix the Jinx. They cheer as they listen to the radio.
Harkins passes to Lechic. Lechic twirls to avoid a bludger. He throws 10 points to Scotland.
B A family is gathered in the living room around a radio, their faces painted in blue and white.
She zigs, she zags, it's the Wollongong shimmy. She throws 10 points to Scotland.
Teenagers listen to a wireless in a field, some on brooms.
Perkins passes to Whitehorn. Whitehorn throws. Goal!
In Spencer-Moon's office, ministry officials gather around the radio cheering.
And with that, the score is 140-0. No sign of the snitch.
Interior executive box, evening. Nicholas cheers, Wallace smiles. Exterior pitch, moments later. The Congolese keeper returns to his post.
Banza is back on his broom. Still, it could be too late for Congo to turn this around.
Izzy and Mutombo continue their dance. Mutombo flying forward with Izzy flying backward in front of him, continually blocking his turns. Thunder rumbles.
You can't keep this up forever.
Didn't I have to? Just long enough.
They fly past the executive box. Izzy makes eye contact with Wallace. Only a split second. Mutombo breaks free to chase after a flash of gold.
Mutombo is on the move. He has seen the snitch.
Father!
Izzy gives chase. Interior executive box, same. Wallace rises, tense.
Come on, Iz.
Exterior pitch, same. Mutombo flies past a Congolese chaser, nearly colliding.
Out of my way!
Izzy flies past Sorsha.
Do not stop! Keep going!
A bludger hits Sorsha, grazing her, but still sending her spinning. Lechic comes by her.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Come on.
Mutombo swerves to avoid a bludger, allowing Izzy to pass him. She reaches out for the snitch. She closes in, her finger almost touching it.
This could be it!
When a bludger swoops in, colliding with her hand, it crunches audibly and she swerves out of control, lightning. Mutombo flies around Izzy, then zooms after the snitch.
Quick recovery by Mutombo, with Scotland only ahead by 140. This could be the Congo's chance.
Izzy looks up, gritting her teeth. Rain begins to fall. Sorsha whistles. The chasers and beaters nod. Izzy cradles her injured hand and dives.
Darrow's back on Mutombo's tail. He's closing in.
Scotland's in possession.
Sorsha, holding the quaffle, flies toward the goal hoops. Lechic and Devlin spiral around her, guarding her. The Congolese keeper floats before the hoops, eyes on Sorsha. Izzy breaks right, anticipating the snitch's flight path. Mutombo closes in on the snitch. Sorsha closes in on the goal hoops, just as she enters the scoring area. Lechic and Devlin break off in either direction. Sorsha makes a sharp turn up. The keeper follows.
Parkin is in the scoring area.
Izzy catches up to Mutombo. He has his hand outstretched. Sorsha continues upward. She drops the quaffle. Angle on Genie, who hits a bludger. The bludger shoots in a straight line past other players toward the hoops. Angle on Mutombo's hand, about to close in on the snitch. Split screen. The bludger hits the falling quaffle through the hoop as Mutombo's hand takes the snitch. A trumpet sounds.
I can't believe it! I can't believe it! Scotland scores as Congo takes the snitch. 150-150.
Interior World Cup Stadium executive box, same.
A tie! That's a deal, bro! I haven't seen a tie since...
Exterior pitch moments later.
1805! There hasn't been a tie in the World Cup since 1805!
The team huddle together on the ground in the rain. A healer is prodding Izzy's hand with a wand.
How's your hand is?
The healer pours potion from a skeleton-like bottle into a small glass, which Izzy drinks. She coughs.
It burns. How's your head, Sorsh?
Sorsha waves off a healer, wincing.
I'm fine. Fine.
So, what happens now?
Exterior pitch, night. The referee addresses the crowd and the team, reading from a large book under an umbrella, his voice magically amplified.
In the case of a tie, each chaser from either team will get one free throw. Best of 3 wins.
Easy enough.
Light the hoops!
At either end of the field, the hoops light on fire, burning blue and sizzling in the rain. Then they begin swaying side to side in 90-degree arcs, trailing fire in their paths.
I love this game.
High above the pitch, a falcon flies in the rain. Series of shots, trading throws. The first Congolese chaser throws the quaffle through a hoop. The flames turn white. Devlin throws the quaffle through a hoop on the other side. The flames turn white. The second Congolese chaser throws the quaffle through a second hoop. The flames turn white. Lechic throws the quaffle through a second hoop on the other side. The flames turn white. Interior, executive box, night. Nicholas and Wallace are watching, so focused that they don't notice the soaking wet falcon that slides in through a side opening in the window. It flutters to the fireplace to dry. Littlewit hops next to the falcon and puffs himself up to look bigger. The falcon sidesteps away from Littlewit. Exterior pitch, same. The third Congolese chaser throws the quaffle at the remaining hoop on his side. It bounces off the ring, aflame. The crowd hushes. Interior announcer booth, same. The announcers are all leaning forward. Some stand.
It all comes down to this.
Exterior pitch, same. Sorsha flies onto the pitch to heavy silence. She faces the hoops. Still swaying, 2 burn white. Only 1 burns blue. Sorsha winces and puts a hand to her head. We see the hoops from her perspective, slightly out of focus. Sorsha breathes, holds, then blasts forward on her broom. The audience leans forward. None dare to break the silence. She throws the quaffle at the remaining hoop. It flies and sails through the hoop. The flames turn white. The stadium explodes into cheers.
Scotland wins! Scotland wins! Scotland advances to the final!
The Sphinx jinx is broken!
Series of shots. Great Britain rejoices. In the bar, the patrons cheer. In the living room, the family cheers. In the field, the teenagers set off elaborate fireworks.
Yeah, totally.
In the office, the ministry officials cheer and hug.
Splendid.
Exterior, World Cup Stadium, pitch, night. The team fly to and tackle Sorsha. The crowd is deafening. Interior, World Cup Stadium executive box, same. Nicholas and Wallace are standing, jumping, hugging. Behind them, the falcon flutters forward and transforms into Plumier. She raises her wand at them. Wallace, looking up, sees her reflection in the window.
Look out!
Wallace pushes Nicholas out of the way just as Plumier casts a red spell. The spell flies between them, ricochets off the window, and crashes into the alchemy set. Exterior pitch, same. The executive box explodes, spewing gas and colorful smoke. The crowd screams and points. Izzy looks up at the box.
Wallace!
She grabs her broom and soars up through the smoke. Exterior executive box, same. The room is filled with smoke and burned beyond repair. Plumier stands, covered in shimmering light. She flicks her wand and the light fades. She moves debris, uncovering Wallace and Nicholas unconscious. Izzy lands in the box and coughs in the smoke.
Wallace!
The smoke clears a bit. Wallace is floating horizontally into the red fire of the fireplace, following Nicholas.
Wallace!
She lunges forward. Plumier appears, throwing a red spell at her. Izzy dodges. Wallace disappears into the fire. Plumier hurls spells at Izzy while backing up to the fireplace. Izzy swings her broom at Plumier but slips and falls. Plumier stands over her, points her wand, and Littlewit flies in, pecking her. Plumier slaps him off. The rest of the team fly into the box. Plumier retreats and disappears into the fire, which goes out. Orders rush into the room, wands ready. Flash. The image of the team standing in the rubble is captured as a moving photo. Interior, press room, night. Estelle Chevalier, 50, French Minister for Magic, stands before a crowd of journalists and flashing cameras. All dialogue in brackets is in French.
Following the conclusion of last night's match between Congo and Scotland, Nicolas Flamel was taken from his private box.
The crowd erupts into questions. Was it Grindelwald? Is Grindelwald back? Chevalier shouts over them.
The motive is still under investigation. However, the Chambre Enchantée has identified as its primary suspect the Scottish squib Wallace McNaught.
Wallace's photo is projected. Journalists clamor.
How could the squib succeed in such a feat?
Due to a security error, Monsieur McNaught was able to enter the stadium with a Muggle weapon, which we believe he used to subdue Monsieur Flamel. As for his escape, we believe he had wizard accomplices, the Scottish national team.
A photo of the team is projected. Journalists clamor.
For this reason, the Scottish national team is being held for questioning by the Chambre Enchantée until we have secured the return of Nicolas Flamel.
What about the finals? They're in 2 days!
Salamand rises beside Chevalier.
In light of the charges against the Scottish national team, the International Quidditch Committee has ruled to forfeit their win in the semi-finals. The Congo will advance in their place.
The crowd roars with questions. In the back, Mutombo scowls. Spencer-Moon stands nearby, expression neutral. Interior catacomb dungeon, night. The team sit or stand in individual stone cells in the same hallway.
1821. Ireland lost the World Cup semi-finals when the Seeker vanished an hour into the match.
Shut up, Wes.
The sound of metal hitting stone.
1845. England ran into a pack of blood-sucking bugbears between matches.
Shut up, Wes.
Metal hits stone again.
And let's not forget 1877, the tournament that nobody remembers.
Wisp, if you do not shut your gob about that stupid jinx, I will jinx you myself.
Metal hits stone again.
Izzy, you okay, hun?
In her cell, Izzy is tossing a tin cup at individual ceiling stones. The rest of the stones, floor and walls included, have X's scratched into them.
Back in the old days, when an architect built a dungeon, they'd hide a secret escape method just in case their employer felt like making them a permanent resident instead of paying.
That can't possibly be.
Izzy throws her cup at the last stone. It shudders and all of the cell doors swing open. Izzy steps out.
Not my first time sneaking out of a dungeon. No, the guards' last round was 20 minutes ago. That gives us 10 minutes before they come by again. But even after we slip by them, there's an army of Aurors between us and the exit. We'll have to find our wands and...
She stops, then turns. The others are standing in the doors of their cells, but make no sign of going further.
Don't you think we should stay put?
It's just we're already in a lot of trouble as it is, and...
The last thing Wallace needs is you making him and us look more guilty by cursing your way through the French ministry just to get tossed into a deeper cell.
What I think Sorcha means, Captain, is that we're all worried about him, but maybe the best thing we can do is nothing at all?
Nothing. I can't do nothing. Wallace's life is in danger.
Why is? They only took him at all because he was with Flamel. Why would they care about a squib?
Beat.
You know that's not what I...
It doesn't matter. You want to know? Ask him.
They all turn to whom she's pointing, Lechic.
And ask him who he really is while you're at it.
Lechic sighs. He pulls out and displays a badge.
Agent Angelbert Lechic, Slingshot Protection and International Inquiry Specialist.
Parlance.
And Wallace's last name is not McNaught, it's McBushrock. He's a descendant of the Secret Seven.
Interior, mine, night. Wallace and Nicholas are tied to chairs alongside Crumb, Quintero, Riomine, Golovsky, and Afolayan, sitting around a table. The table holds a model of the World Cup Valley. Around them, dirty prisoners in gray uniforms toil, excavating the tunnels. Acolytes stand watch.
Are they?
Muggers.
In their proper place.
Salamand approaches, flanked by Plumier.
The non-magiques are industrious with the right motivation.
An acolyte uses his wand to sting a prisoner.
Thanks to their hard work, we were able to construct the World Cup Stadium in a matter of weeks.
In the model, the World Cup Stadium appears. A prisoner stumbles, an acolyte approaches and yells at her.
That's how all the marvels of wizard kind were built. Xanadu, Azkaban, Hogwarts, wizard design and muggle labor. Partnered for the greater good. Imagine the marvels we could yet build.
In the model, a city and castle rise around the stadium.
Regenheim, the world's first wizard city, the throne of the Gondolier. And all that stands in its way is a piece of paper.
Salamand unfurls a paper, the one she stole in London. Graves emerges from the shadows.
The Statue of Secrecy, signed and sealed by the blood of the Secret Seven, the greatest traitors in the history of magic. Nothing to say in your defense?
I've encountered enough fanatics in my time to know a cause that is lost when I see one.
Graves pulls out a red crystal.
A drop in the bucket to repay your debt. But finding will be easier with the gold produced by the Sorcerer's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone, America.
The rest of you can carry your ancestors' guilt in your blood. If not their magic, the same blood that sealed the contract. Tomorrow the Gondolier arrives, he will present himself to the world and blot out the words that have held us captive for nearly 250 years, with your blood.
She unsheathes the ritual knife bought from Borgin.
Paid with interest. By your blood, the world will be made one again, with its rightful rulers finally in their proper place, for the greater good.
The acolyte points his wand. The prisoner screams in pain. Interior catacomb dungeon, night. The team stands in a circle.
So, Grindelwald is going to take over the world.
He will try. Destroying the Statute of Secrecy is just the first step. According to my agency's investigation, through our warnings fell on deaf ears.
Investigations, what a load.
Where are you going, Iz?
They turn. Izzy is headed down the hallway.
To Wallace, weren't you paying attention?
Are you mental? We need to tell the Aurors, the ministry.
The ministries aren't listening, Sorsh. They laughed at Spencer-Moon's boycott, they snubbed Slinkalot's investigations, and they're pinning the blame on a squib instead of asking if they might be getting played by Grindelwald. I'm a lousy captain. I know that because a good captain wouldn't ask you what I'm about to. I need you to come with me. And I'm not going to talk mince about the power of friendship or love being the greatest magic of all. Plain, simple, selfish. I need you. All of you. Each of you. I cannot toss a quaffle or hit a bludger or fix a broom. All I can do is catch a snitch. Sometimes I cannot even do that. But when we're together, it doesn't matter.
Only we're not all together.
One of us fell off his broom.
And when one of us falls,
We catch them.
Sorsha and Izzy clasp hands.
We're going to save Lois.
Like we wouldn't anyway.
Footsteps sound in the corridor ahead.
Get ready. We'll have to take them by surprise.
Or we could take another route.
Angle on Lechic. He pulls an antique door handle out of his coat and presses it to a wall. Slowly, a door frame grows out of the concrete. Lechic turns the handle and opens the door, revealing a winding passage.
A portable passage, courtesy of Slinklot R&D.
Interior passageway, moments later. The team move up a tight, cramped passageway, Lechic leading.
so what's a slinklot?
Slinklot.
It means he's a spy for hire.
An inquiry specialist. Think of us as Aurors Without Borders.
Or any real authority.
We can make arrests with cooperation of local ministries. Granted, that cooperation has been hard to come by as of late.
Do you even ken Ewan Boyd?
What's a slink doing on the Quidditch team?
A month ago, Slinklot learned that Grindelwald was hunting descendants of the Secret Seven. Once we identified Wallis as MacBookshrock's heir, I was assigned to join your team and provide covert protection.
They sent a Frenchman to fit in with a bunch of Scots.
We are very understaffed. Here.
They come to a door like a dumbwaiter door for its size and placement on the wall. Lechic opens it. Interior, French Ministry of Magic, hallway continuous. The door swings open, placed on the marble base of a statue. The hallway is otherwise empty. The team crawl out. When all are out, Lechic removes the handle and the door vanishes. They turn a corner. Several paces away, Spencer-Moon stands in conversation with Chevalier, carrying a small Gladstone bag. Spencer-Moon notices Izzy. The team all hold their breath as Spencer-Moon resumes his conversation.
As I said, you've turned a blind eye to the worsening situation.
He sets the bag down. Magically, it slides over to Izzy.
Now, others will no doubt take matters into their own hands.
Izzy opens the bag. Littlewit flies out and nuzzles into her. Izzy looks into the bag. It holds their wands and the amulets. Izzy looks back at Spencer-Moon. He does not acknowledge her.
I think we're officially on ministry business.
Interior, Paris apartment, day. A man and woman are having a heated argument in French. The man holds 2 flutes of champagne as the woman searches the apartment, pulling aside the shower curtain, searching under the bed, and checking the fire escape. They continue arguing as she approaches him, gesturing to the champagne and a lipstick stain on his shirt collar, when a thud comes from the closet. Heated, the woman reaches the closet and throws it open, revealing the team. In the back of the closet, Lechic quickly shuts another door. They stare back at the couple. Izzy opens her mouth, then closes it and sighs with a shrug. Awkwardly, the team file out of the closet and out the front door, muttering apologies as they go, as the man and woman watch slack-jawed. As they pass, Aiden and Jeannie take the champagne and drink it in a single gulp. As the front door shuts, the argument begins anew, angrier. Exterior, Paris Street, moments later. The team exit the apartment building onto the street. Cars and bicyclists pass them.
How are we getting back?
Too far to operate, and we can't take a port key or the flu network with every witch and wizard in Paris on alert for us.
I might have an idea.
Angle on a general store across the street. Interior, general store, day. The team walk past shelves of ordinary foodstuffs and other necessities up to the counter. The manager smiles at a departing customer before noticing the team. He raises an eyebrow at their clothing. Izzy places 7 gold coins on the counter.
7 brooms, please.
The manager looks back at the plain corn brooms behind him, then at the coins. He picks one up, bites it, then shrugs. Interior, mine, day. Graves, Salamand, and Plumier watch as the prisoners toil.
The Gondler has seen your work here, Alcina.
I am his humble servant.
He was quite impressed with your managerial skills, especially in the mine. Once the cup is over, you are to travel to Siberia to oversee a granite operation.
Surely I'd be of more use overseeing the construction of Regenheim.
That burden has fallen on me.
You! But I dug the foundations. I conquered the muggles, quarried the stone, brought the world to witness his coronation, and Grindelwald rewards me with what? Another hole?
Graves turns.
You think the Gondler mistaken?
Beat.
No.
For the greater good.
The greater good.
Graves leaves. Plumier near Salamand.
But who decides whose good is greater?
Interior, mine, dungeon cells, day. Wallace, Nicholas, and the descendants each stand in their own cell separated by bars.
I was only 11 when my dad had my name changed. Other bairns were accepting their Hogwarts acceptance. Other bairns were opening their Hogwarts acceptance letters. I was being called a blight on the McBushrock name.
Riamine says something in Japanese.
What did he say?
If you're going to drown yourself returning to the water basin, could you splash less?
What's that supposed to mean?
That we do ourselves no favors by dwelling on the past when we should be planning our escape.
Escape? What do you want me to do, Nick? I can't do magic.
In this moment, neither can we.
Wallace takes a moment to stare off into space. His eyes focus on the door, on the lock of his cell.
Anyone got a bobby pin?
Exterior, Eiffel Tower, observation deck, sunset. Devlin is going over the brooms with his wand, muttering under his breath while the others eat around a cookpot. Alone, Izzy leans over the railing, absent-mindedly catching and releasing Lilwit. Sorsha joins her.
Remember fourth year when you couldn't get the vanishing spell right, so you used a shrinking charm to make your teapot too small for Dumbledore to say?
Will flunked if he hadn't given me private tutoring.
Lucky duck. Did you ken about Wallace?
Mostly. I remember his dad made him change his name, put the rest together at the museum.
I'm sorry for what I said before.
I know, Sorsh. 3 days after I got my Hogwarts letter, there's a knock at the door. Standing in the pouring rain is the son of a crazy old man up the hill, looking like a drowned pup but grinning like a Cheshire cat. Says he's been dying for someone to talk to and heard that I'd gotten an owl. Has a list of spells he wants to try when he finally gets a wand. Shares a box of chocolate frogs so he can trade cards. Wants to show me his grandpa's real dragon tooth. Asks if I know what Quidditch is yet. Before that, I was afraid of going to Hogwarts. Like it was one of those castles in the stories that little girls go to and marry Bluebeard and find his room full of dead wives. Wallace changed that muddy little bairn. He showed me that it wasn't just spells and potions and brooms. It was magic.
The sun dips beneath the horizon.
All done?
The team gather around Devlin and the broomsticks. He's clearly made the most of what he had, even adding footrests and trimming the bristles into roughly aerodynamic shapes. In the end, though, they still look like muggle brooms.
I have concerns.
Izzy steps to a broom and puts out her hand.
Up!
The broom leaps into her hand. She hefts it, examines the shaft and brush, and takes a running leap over the deck railing.
Izzy!
The team run to the railing and look down. Izzy rockets back up behind them and around the observation deck. She comes back to face them, grinning.
Mount up!
They mount the brooms and kick off into the air. Angle on Devlin's broom handle. A piece of tape bears a name. Nimbus Mach 1. Exterior, Paris sky, night, continuous. The city sparkles below as the team soars. They start to experiment with the brooms, accelerating and braking, making wide turns. Lechic corkscrews through a cloud, drilling a neat hole. They shout and whistle their admiration. Jeannie looks down and back up, eyes wide.
We're leaving Paris.
That's the plan, Hen.
No, do you remember the blood contract?
It said we couldn't leave the World Cup Valley.
Or Paris.
Below, the lights grow sparse. Ahead, the terrain is dark.
What's the call, Captain?
Things are about to get rough. If anyone wants to turn back, I won't blame you.
No one turns. If anything, they accelerate. As they pass over the last light, wham! An unseen force pushes through them like a shockwave. Izzy grits her teeth and begins to sweat. The veins in her face become more pronounced as her skin pales. She begins to groan in pain. The others do likewise. Aiden slowly reaches to and turns on his wireless. They catch the end of a song before a new one starts to play. Fly Together by Lorelei Lark. The intro plays, and then...
Oh, my child, courage take. A storm rages near, and augury weeps its song. As your bones start to shake, listen close and you'll hear the phoenix duet joins along.
Montage Fly Together. Lorelei Lark's voice takes over as we see snatches of the team's journey. They fly against wind and through rain. Aiden and Jeannie lean against each other for support. Wisp falls from his broom only to be caught by Lechic and Sorsha. Exterior World Cup camp, night. The camp is empty as the team crashes through the camp gates. Izzy climbs to her knees, panting heavily. She is emaciated, her face nearly skeletal. Littlewit nuzzles her. She breathes deeply, eyes closed. Slowly, her flesh begins to restore itself until she looks like she did before. Though still reeling, the others rise behind her.
That was the worst.
A trumpet sounds in the distance, coming from the stadium.
Snitch catch.
That'll be the last semi-final.
The finals are tomorrow.
Nothing to do with us. Let's go.
Interior World Cup Stadium hallway night. A custodian moves down the hallway, whistling. As he disappears, a door forms on the outer wall, angled at 45 degrees. It swings open, and the team climbs through. Interior World Cup Stadium executive box moments later. The team enter, brooms on their backs. The room is still in shambles. Lechic and Izzy go to the cold fireplace.
You're certain they went through here?
I am. And if it wasn't the flu network, there must be a passageway or something.
She crouches into the fireplace and feels around.
There you are!
Ow!
Izzy bonks her head hard as Coach enters the room, passing through the wall.
You ken how hard it is to on a team where they didn't stay in one place. I was almost at Paris when I felt you heading back to the stadium.
Coach continues rambling as Izzy rubs her head. Looking down, she sees a discrepancy in the stone. She brushes away the soot to reveal an engraving, a triangle holding a circle and a vertical line.
What's this nonsense about Congo playing Denmark in the finals? I'd hear that from the howling Dane at Undead Antisocial.
She pauses, then removes her amulet and presses it into the engraving. A perfect fit.
You're kidding me.
The fireplace rumbles. The bricks fold out of the way. A passageway leading down. Izzy leads the way down. Interior, mine, dungeon cells, night. Wallace opens the last of the cell doors, freeing Apollyon. The others stand behind him. Interior, mine, tunnel, moments later. Wallace, Nicholas, and the descendants creep past an open doorway. The team exit the doorway and follow the tunnel in the opposite direction. Interior, mine, prisoner quarters, moments later. A steel door rests in the bedrock. It swings forward violently, breaking off its hinges. The team enter, wands drawn. Prisoners cower against the walls.
Wallace? Wallace? Are you in here?
Lechic speaks in French. A prisoner steps forward and speaks.
He's being held elsewhere in the mine.
Wisp meets eyes with a prisoner, the servant he met before.
Captain, I think they're muggles.
Beat.
We're taking them with us.
The ministry will send someone for them once we're out of here.
We're the someone source. Official ministry business. You lot take them and find an exit. Coach, with me.
Interior, mine, chamber, same. Graves kneels facing the back wall, meditating. Salamande enters, plumier on her shoulder as a hawk.
I've had a vision. Conflict. Fire. Blood will be spilled.
So, nothing new.
The gondler is on his way. Is everything ready for his arrival?
Just need to clear a spare room.
Plumier flies from her shoulder, transforms in mid-flight, and casts a red spell at Graves. Interior, mine, tunnel, same. Wallace and Nicholas look down. Looking back up at them is the Sphinx cub, guarding the supply room door. She meows at them.
Excuse me.
He gently moves the Sphinx cub with his foot. She falls over herself, meowing angrily. He takes a bobby pin to the doorknob, but it bounces off an invisible barrier guarding the keyhole. The Sphinx cub meows. Nicholas and Wallace exchange a look.
Normally, in matters involving a sphinx, there's a riddle.
They look down at the Sphinx cub. She smiles excitedly and leaps into action. She uses her paws to draw two shapes in the dirt, a circle and a triangle. She trots off and comes back carrying a ball in her mouth. She drops it between the shapes, sits, and looks at Wallace. Unsure, Wallace picks up the ball and puts it in the circle. The door clicks open. Supply room, continuous. Wallace and Nicholas begin searching the shelves. Nicholas whistles and waits as if expecting something. Wallace finds his coat. He pulls out the gun and inspects the cartridge. One bullet.
No wand, nor my stone. Now that will be a problem.
Can you make another?
Not likely. I made that one quite by accident. And I'm running low on elixir of life.
Wallace gives him a questioning look.
The secret to my youthful glow.
Maybe the others had more luck?
Not likely.
They turn. Roche stands in the door, flanked by acolytes, including the thug from the tavern in Italy, and Lesage, who chased the team through Place Cachet, all with wands drawn.
Out at their bed. Tat. The squib. Oh dear. We are in trouble.
Interior, mine, mess hall, moments later. Wallace and Nicholas are kneeling, their hands tied behind their backs. Acolytes surround them.
No, you said there are more of you're wondering about unsupervised. Well, go look.
Two of the acolytes leave, leaving three with Roche, Lesage, and the thug. The Sphinx cub meows angrily at Roche. He kicks her.
Tais-toi!
I think this one stole my amulet. That was a gift from the gondolier.
Roche crouches in front of Wallace.
I knew you were a sneak.
Roche backhands Wallace.
Look at me, using my hands like a muggle. Your people love dragging us down to your level. I should really be the bigger person and try to lift you up. Untie him.
The acolytes force Wallace to his feet and unbind his hands.
Give me your wand, Lesage. I'll give it back. Come on now, hurry up.
Lesage reluctantly hands Roche his wand.
Maybe you squibs just aren't trying hard enough.
He offers the wand to Wallace. The acolytes laugh. Wallace stares at it, then takes the wand. He eyes his coat pocket.
Remove your coat. You'll move better.
Wallace complies and places his coat on the ground. Roche turns, walks several paces, and turns back. Coach phases through the wall, sees Wallace, and withdraws. Izzy enters. She crouches behind a table.
First, we both bow.
Roche bows in overt formality, motioning for Wallace to do the same. Wallace begins to bow, and is knocked backward off his feet. Roche's wand is raised. The acolytes howl with laughter. Wallace sits up in time to see Izzy point her wand at Roche. He coughs, getting her attention. He shakes his head. She lowers her wand.
Oh, too slow. I'm sorry. Please stand up. Try a spell. Here's an easy one. Stupefy. Try it.
Wallace stands. He makes eye contact with Izzy, then rolls his head. Izzy nods. She crouches back down and creeps around the room, hiding behind furniture. Wallace raises his wand.
Stupefy.
Nothing happens. The acolytes laugh.
No. Like this. Stupefy!
A red spell leaps from his wand and hits Wallace in his right arm. His arm goes limp and drops the wand.
Pick it up. Try again.
Wallace takes the wand in his left hand and aims it shakily.
Stupefy!
Nothing happens.
Your pronunciation is as bad as your odor. Stupefy!
A red spell hits Wallace in his left leg. It buckles under him and he falls backward onto his coat. The acolytes wheeze with laughter. Roche paces, laughing with them. Wallace puts his hand in his coat pocket.
How about one more chance?
Izzy is directly behind the acolytes, wand ready. Wallace withdraws his gun and points it at Roche.
Stupefy.
He fires the gun. The bullet rips into Roche's wand arm. Roche drops his wand and stares at the wound.
Oh! Now is!
Izzy stands and casts red spells, hitting the thug, Lesage, and the other acolytes. They fall. Roche turns just as Coach flies through him, back and forth. Roche falls, shivering violently. Izzy runs to Wallace, who is being supported by Nicholas. She runs her wand over his arms and leg, which regain movement. The Sphinx cub paws at Wallace. He picks her up.
Look at you making friends.
She's not so bad. There are worse friends you could make.
Interior, mine, chamber, same. Graves floats in the air, frozen, bloodied. Salamand roots around in his robes.
Yes, my Gondler. It is disappointing. Graves always seems so loyal.
She pulls the statute out of Graves' robes and pockets it. Then she pulls out the Philosopher's Stone.
But even the most dutiful servant can be bent by temptation.
She raises the stone to Graves' hand.
It seems his greed was matched only by his incompetence.
She taps his hand 3 times. On the 3rd tap, Graves' flesh turns to gold in a wave, starting in his fingertips, moving up his arm.
This was all we found of him.
She slashes him with the ritual knife. His golden forearm falls to the ground. The blood disappears into the knife.
You never should have tried to bury me, Graves. Now no one will ever find what's left of you.
A screeching sound is heard from outside.
Always something.
Interior, mine, mess hall, same. Screeching fills the room. Izzy and Wallace look at the door where Roche holds a screaming, shrunken head. Izzy casts a red spell at Roche, who collapses.
So much for being covert.
Interior, mine, statue yard, same. This cavern is taller than the others. Marble statues in various stages of completion fill the space. Hanging on the wall, a shrunken head is screaming. A blue spell hits it and it explodes. Sorsha lowers her wand. The team, prisoners, and descendants crowd around a flat section of a marble slab in the wall. Lechic affixes the door handle to it and a door emerges. Interior, tunnel, continuous. We follow the passageway forward until coming to a stone stairwell leading straight up. We follow it up and up. Interior, Congolese tent, night. The Congolese team lounge about the tent, playing games. A thumping is heard coming from the floor. They move a table, then the rug underneath, uncovering a trap door. They pull it open. Afoleon peeks his head out, Littlewit with him. Mutombo gapes.
Uncle?
Interior mine statue yard moments later.
Sounds like they found an exit. We should move!
The group scatter as a spell hits the doorway. Acolytes pour in from tunnels, casting spells.
Defend the prisoners!
The team jump onto their broomsticks and take flight. Wisp floats above the doorway, deflecting acolyte spells as prisoners carefully funnel through. Sorsha, Lechic, and Devlin fly around the room, casting spells at the acolytes. An acolyte fixes his wand on Sorsha. A bludger hits him in the face. It continues flying, hitting several more acolytes. Aiden hits the bludger with a club and smiles at Genie.
Told you it was a good idea to grab these.
Genie opens a bag. A second bludger rockets out. Cut 2. A prisoner goes to the doorway, then shrieks and ducks. Mutombo flies through the doorway, followed by his team. Littlewit rides on his shoulder. Mutombo salutes Sorsha.
Mind if we join in?
He casts a spell at an acolyte behind her.
I hope it's no trouble, but we invited some friends.
7 more flyers in red and white uniforms fly in. The Danish national team. The Congolese and Danish fly around the room, trading spells with acolytes. Cut to Izzy, Wallace, carrying the Sphinx Club, and Nicholas enter.
Is that the Congo? And Denmark?
Looks like we brought the World Cup to you.
The Sphinx cub meows. Cut 2. Salamande enters, Plumier behind her.
Close that door.
Plumier transforms and flies off. Salamande strides forward, waving her wand. Nearby statues animate and charge prisoners. The Congolese engage the statues, casting spells at them. Izzy sends a spell at Salamande. She deflects it and sends 3 more back. Mutombo and the Danish captain join Izzy, casting spells. Salamande holds her own against them and forces them back. Cut 2. The hawk flies toward the door, aimed at Wisp, talons ready. A gold blur strikes her in the face. She stalls in the air, looking around. The gold blur strikes her again, resolving into Littlewit. Littlewit hovers and chirps defiantly. Plumier gives chase. Cut to Nicholas, about to pass through the doorway, perks up. He turns, sees Salamande, and whistles. Salamande's coat whips toward Nicholas, spinning her around. The Philosopher's Stone rips out of her pocket, pulling the Statute of Secrecy with it. Leaving the paper behind, it streaks across the room into Nicholas's hand.
Sometimes I think you're more trouble than you're worth.
Cut 2. The Statute of Secrecy flutters to the ground between Izzy and Salamande.
Hasio, statute!
It doesn't respond. Salamande begins to walk toward it. Mutombo points his wand at the paper.
Carta complicaro.
The paper begins to fold itself, halving and then quartering in size. The folds become more complex until it achieves its final form, a small paper bird. Salamande gapes at the bird. It looks at her, then flies away.
Don't you have a job to do?
Izzy hops on her broom and flies after the bird. Salamande points her wand. A broom flies into her hand, unseating its rider, who falls to the ground. Salamande mounts it and flies after Izzy. Mutombo waves his wand, which dispenses fog. A thick layer envelops the combatants. Cut 2. Coach flies through several acolytes. As they shudder, Lechic casts spells at them, knocking them out. A curse hits Lechic in the face. He falls. Sorsha lands, blasts the acolyte, and runs to Lechic's side. A bloody gash crosses his face, but he is smiling.
Think I can pull it off?
If anyone could. Let's get you out of here.
An acolyte aims his wand at Sorsha and Lechic when his wand flies out of his hand. He drops to the ground, searching. He finds his wand. He tries to lift it, but it won't move. To his right, the Sphinx cub meows at him. She has drawn a square and circle in the dirt and placed a ball between them. A red spell hits the acolyte and he crumples. Devlin lands next to the Sphinx cub and picks her up.
Good one, mate.
She meows. Cut 2. The hawk chases Littlewit through the fog. Littlewit weaves through statues. An acolyte stands panicked in the fog, pointing his wand any which way. Littlewit pecks him in the back of the neck. The acolyte spins and casts a red spell, which collides with the hawk, which turns back into Plumier. Her unconscious body flies through the air, crashing into the acolyte. Littlewit flies away, up and out of the fog. He finds Izzy, pursuing the paper bird. He lands on her shoulder. She dodges a red spell from behind, then a bludger.
Just a bit longer.
A distinct whistle is heard. Izzy smiles. She speeds up and snatches the paper bird. A wave of purple fire hits Izzy from behind. She screams and plummets into Wallace's arms. They both fall. Salamande lands and walks toward them through the mist.
Did you mistake this for a game? That we are done because you caught the snitch? This isn't Quidditch!
Wallace helps Izzy rise. She's in bad shape, but she smiles.
You're right. Quidditch is fun. This is just a distraction.
Salamande pauses, then waves her wand. The mist dissipates. Around them, the room is empty save for the still bodies of fallen acolytes and demolished statues.
And my team's already won.
She gives a little wave, showing off the paper bird.
Good game.
She leaps on her broom with Wallace and flies away, dodging green spells out and through the passageway door. Interior, tunnel, continuous. Izzy and Wallace fly forward. They break into the stairwell, then fly straight up. Salamande follows, but cannot break as quickly and hits the wall. She takes a moment to recover. Interior, mine, statue yard, same. Graves enters, bloodied, cradling his stump of an arm. He takes in the carnage. Interior, tunnel, same. Izzy and Wallace near the exit. Izzy's eyes flutter. Her body goes limp.
Iz!
Their momentum halts. They hang in the air, then begin to fall when two pairs of arms grab them and pull them up. Interior, Congolese tent, continuous. Jeannie and Aiden hoist Izzy and Wallace onto the floor, surrounded by Congolese, Danish, prisoners, and descendants. Sorsha slams the door shut, and Lechic tears off the handle. The door disappears. Interior, tunnel, same. Salamand breaks before hitting the closed door. She screams at the ceiling, then begins descending rapidly. Interior, mine, statue yard, same. Graves points his wand at the open passageway door. It slams closed and disappears. Interior, tunnel, same. Pitch black.
Lumos.
Light appears from Salamand's wand. She looks about, frantic. The stone walls of the tunnel groan. Slowly, they start to move, closing in.
No. No. No!
Salamand dives down, then pulls up. The floor has risen. She flies back up, then breaks. The ceiling is lowered. The walls groan closer. Salamand screams. Cut to black. Interior, Congolese tent, same. Izzy is on her back, unconscious. The team crowd around her. Her breathing is labored.
Izzy, get a healer! Izzy!
What happened down there?
Solomon hit her with a curse. I do not ken. She was fine. Get a healer!
If I may, Wallace.
Nicholas kneels down. He listens to her heart, to her chest, feels her head.
Nothing for it, I suppose.
He pulls out the Philosopher's Stone.
No one tell my wife I did this.
Nicholas holds the stone over Izzy's head and presses it between both hands, squeezing it like a fruit. The stone glows brightly, filling the tent with red light. Red elixir builds at the tip of the stone. A single drop falls from the stone and into Izzy's mouth. Interior, hospital room, day. Izzy groans awake in a hospital bed. Littlewit sleeping on her chest. Silver streaks her hair. Nicholas sits nearby.
Good morning, Isabelle.
Where am I?
L'Autre Pignon, the finest hospital in Paris.
Where's...
All is safe, and some closer than you think.
Angle on Wallace sleeping in a chair by the window.
My mouth tastes bad.
I was forced to administer the elixir of life, which must remain our secret. By the way, ingesting too much can build a dependence. Unfortunately, everything will taste like sawdust for the next month or so. And your hair...
Izzy looks into a mirror on the bedside table.
I'll manage. You're one of those secret seven blokes, aren't you?
Nicolas Flamel, at your service and in your debt.
Lechic said Grindelwald wanted to kill you lot and use your blood to break the statute of secrecy. Would that have worked?
You mean, would killing an old man and 6 strangers with famous names have magically given wizards everywhere the agency to rise up and murder muggles? No.
Looney old diddy.
Not quite. The blood contract my friends and I signed 249 years ago may not be binding on anyone but myself, but as a symbol, its power may not be magical, but it is potent.
His eyes fall on her amulet.
As so many symbols are.
So, what? That was a symbolic victory.
Symbolic victories are quite important, as they are so often presage real change. Your actions demonstrated that there are people all over the world willing to stand up against hate and violence. Not just ministers and aurors, but more importantly, and forgive me, average, everyday, normal people who'd rather do it right and be killed than rule. You showed Grindelwald that if he wants to get to the muggles, he'll have to get through us first. And we outnumber him. In other news, Congo has declined to advance, and in light of yesterday's revelations and the glowing testimony of a certain silver fox, the International Quidditch Committee has retracted its previous decisions. Scotland will play for the final.
Angle on the other wall, covered with flowers and a banner that reads, "No more jinx."
How about that?
Cotton! The team stand in the doorway. They try to enter and collide with an invisible barrier. They look down. The Sphinx cub sits at their feet, looking up at them, a ball sitting between a square and a circle. The team begin to argue among themselves, waking Wallace. He and Izzy meet eyes. They smile. Series of shots. The team walk through the hospital hallway, greeting well-wishers as they go. They pass the Muggle prisoners being treated by healers. They pass Mutombo, who sits by a Foleon and the other descendants being seen to by a healer. Mutombo and Izzy nod at each other. They pass Coach, who is regaling a group of ghosts. They meet Spencer-Moon. He nods and allows them to pass. They exit through the front doors. Exterior, World Cup Stadium, day. Hundreds of fans file into the stadium, busting with energy. Interior, player tunnel, day. The team and coach move toward the sound of the cheering crowd, carrying their custom brooms.
Still can't believe they're letting us fly on these. I almost feel bad for Denmark.
Still working on the anti-conductivity charm. So if you hear thunder, fly low.
Lightning strikes in Quidditch matches are actually more common than you think. Palisea Quadros was struck 3 times during the 108th World Cup.
Oh, save it for your book, laddie.
You're writing a book? What a book?
Potions through the ages. What do you think?
Sorsha walks with Lechic, who sports a handsome scar.
So, off to another assignment.
Not quite. Slinklop demands thorough reporting. Further investigation is necessary.
Good. I haven't shown you my moves yet. The advanced ones.
Lechic trips over himself. Wallace is at the end of the tunnel with the Sphinx cub, which is chasing after Littlewit playfully.
Denmark's good, but you saw them fly in the mines. If that's how they fly with lives on the line, you've got this in the bag. Just try to stay in your broom, eh?
No promises, coach.
Wallace smiles, nods at the now former coach, who gives him a thumbs up and departs. The team makes formation.
Nervous?
Nah. You?
We've already battered a cabal of international dark wizards, broken a century-long jinx, and brought me back from the dead. How tough can Denmark be?
Yeah. They say war is inevitable now. Grindelwald's played his hand.
Well, someone else can worry about saving the world. Let's play some Quidditch.
They kick off and fly into the sunlight. Interior, Italian home, night. The family fills the room even more tightly packed than before. They grip each other anxiously as the radio plays.
She catches it! Izzy Darrow has caught the snitch! Scotland wins! Scotland wins the World Cup!
The tension shatters to euphoria as the team cheers. But as the celebration dies down...
What is it? Snitch?
Cut to black, the end.
Scotland! 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 Scotland!